Hello, welcome to, I think it's episode 22. It might be episode 23 of Owen and Prince Chat D&D. I don't actually always check the numbering, to be honest.
He doesn't check the numbers.
No, I don't. Those are rookie numbers. Yes, we are going to be talking in 5 minutes or something. We'll start talking about Slumbering Ursine Dunes by Kutalik, Slavic mythos-inspired acid fantasy from the heyday of the old OSR. The Weimar Republic of our movement. Yeah.
I don't know about that, Owen.
Yeah. I know, man. There were definitely a lot of Nazis then, though, weren't there, Prince? Anyway,
oh dear.
Mostly Prince. I actually got some hate mail on my channel today. I don't know if it's hate mail, maybe it's just commentary. But someone did say you've been doing this for 6 years, and I've got to say it's boring. To which I responded, I actually responded, thank you to the haters and the losers, especially your username. But really, I should have said it's been 4.5 years, and yes, it is boring. It would have been more honest.
You don't always have to say something. I mean, you can leave, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
Moving on.
Someone else. This isn't a hate mail to me, but I count it as hate mail. I count it as hate speech. Someone did reply my "Was Tolkien a bad writer" video, saying yes, he was terrible prose. World building isn't a substitute for writing, which I feel like may have missed the point of that video, which is that Tolkien is probably the best fantasy prose stylist ever, in fact. But yeah, I do have lighting Commodore, Commodore Sven. On which note, on the note of prose stylists, I did say we'd start. I have 2 Gene Wolfe related items we need to clear the decks on. One very quickly. I finished Pirate Freedom today. Have you read Pirate Freedom?
No. This year I've been getting into Gene Wolfe seriously. So I went through, what is it, Devil in a Forest. I've read Peace. I just read Soldier in the Mist, Wizard Knight. Quite a few of his entries, but not yet Pirate Freedom. Oh, and some of his short stories as well. It's been really great.
Sure. So I should be doing a video hopefully soon. I just haven't had the time.
Are you just? Do you have to get this off your chest, like these Gene Wolfe related notifications?
This is, we've got to fill a couple of minutes of time. I mean, we could do a farting contest on air. That would be
okay. All right. Well, no problem. No, I don't mind. Please continue.
This was our warm-up topic. Our warm-up topic. Sometimes we have mailbag questions. We did. I actually do have a mailbag question. We didn't
today. If we open the mailbag, it'll be comically the moths will flutter out. That's what you're saying.
We actually do have one that we didn't answer last time. The other one. This was a Gene Wolfe question I thought was relevant to you because it's about Backer criticizing Book of the New Sun, the original, the real Prince of Nothing, criticizing the Book of the New Sun, and then it's 3 paragraphs. I'm not going to read it. His big thing was he was in the middle of reading Book of the New Sun, and he was awestruck by the incisive observations and immaculate prose. But I found myself disappointed by what seemed, to me anyway, an almost mechanical reproduction of a number of postmodern tropes. Doubles and mirrors, hybridity carnivalesque, decentered self, the eschewing of motivation and psychological realism, unreliable narrators, things like that. And that he thought that China Mieva was a better postmodern critic.
Delete that post. I think this is a you're looking at you're mistaking the form for the substance.
Yeah.
Okay. And the problem with postmodernist writing is very often is that it becomes almost all form, that the substance kind of is lost.
Yeah.
I feel so many of these tools, and they really are tools. It's just these can be used as force multipliers, or they can be used to tell an interesting story. But with a lot of postmodern writing, the story itself is totally lost. There's no meaning to any of it. Whereas in, Book of the New Sun is redolent with meaning, full of meaning, right? It's if you read it, the genius of it is basically that you'll probably never get all of it in the first go. It's almost like it's layered, right? There's all this sort of additional context to the story. Quite remarkable context is buried deeply, and you kind of have to tease it out. You have to almost read between the lines. You really have to think in order to sort of unlock that. But the genius of the story is that it works even at face value, even if you don't penetrate into those deeper layers. It's already great. And
that's
really,
a big thing I said about Gene Wolfe is that you should just read it.
It's great.
You should just read his books as novels and enjoy them as plots with characters, and then you can do all the other stuff. but you start with them as they are generally adventure stories, or not always, but generally adventure stories about
And
characters. Yeah,
with China Meville, I feel it's almost the opposite, where the
exactly,
form,
Jim.
right,
Exactly,
and
random.
the form and the concepts, the shapes that he uses,
Hmm.
the devices that he uses in his story, those are actually all very good, right?
Hmm.
You have it's incredibly creative, sort of inventive person with a ton of ideas, but sort of the actual core of his story is disgusting and stupid. Like the
Yeah.
it I guess it's the one way to like to at some point they what is it they it's ugly even like
Yeah.
they kidnap some sort of cancer patient at gunpoint to use him as bait so they can kill a monster, and I was like, this is an ugly novel. Okay, it's
Yeah.
maybe deliberately ugly because he misses his
Yeah.
dad, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's not profound or deep in
Mm.
any way, right? But it's compelling, it's interesting, it's memorable. Don't get me wrong, but so these are like
Yeah.
almost like opposites, I find.
Yeah, I think it's partly because also Mieville might be clearly seen as actually postmodern in worldview,
Yeah,
whereas Wolf is post-diluvian. He understands there has been a flood, it has destroyed lots of stuff, and he is using the tools around him to rebuild something. He's actually quite prophetic and anticipatory in that way, because remember he is writing, he is published before Tolkien dies. That is the kind of crossover point. And so I think he is a guy who, even as Tolkien is still alive and revising the Silmarillion, Wolf is working out how you rebuild the world after the flood, and that will sometimes but that's partly because he has access to such a deep and wide tradition of things, and so you have this kind of criticism where it's like, oh, he's just postmodern, but not in an intelligent, meaningful, self-critiquing way, but just no, it's that he's way beyond that. Or he's way before it. Is one or the other, but he is a man who has gone to Egypt and stolen the treasures of the Egyptians, I think. Is the
there's
way
a
I put it.
mystic, yes, a
Yeah, yeah,
visionary,
yeah,
absolutely, and
yeah,
maybe the rightful king of fantasy of the second half of the
yeah.
20th century.
Post
Yeah,
Tolkien.
of
I think
course,
so. I think so.
of
We're going to
course.
talk about something which certainly has a postmodern tinge to it in its humor and its approach to, not to the game, but to the kind of the presentation of the game, the way, like the kind of part of the aesthetics of the game, and that is. Sorry, I'll just put it. I've got a couple of one sensible, one not sensible comment.
Yeah,
China
maybe
typically uses
such
poop soap
stained
snakes. Yeah,
cactus man anuses. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. We have Ollie nearly bounced with Book of the New Sun. It got really engaging. Yeah, I think that's actually probably true. Book of the New Sun is less approachable than some people say in terms of first wolf. It is a perfectly good first wolf, um, but yeah, I think it's actually slightly less approachable than some other wolves. And Matthew, are we talking wolf? We're doing it as our warm-up material, partly because I'd seen a comment which I posted on the Discord, Matt. The guy where is quoting RJ Bacher being like, Dune Wolf is uncritically postmodern. But yes, so we've covered that. Oh, the question, the question, the mailbag question was, how do you use more unusual monster manual monsters like the olive slime? Like, or do you have any good stories about an unusual monster manual monster? I think that was the question. Was because obviously I think the monster manual we were saying was pretty superlative and indispensable last time. But is there anything from it that is harder to use, or how do you use the things that are more unusual in it? I think was the question.
From recent memory, I've just been running them through several adventures, and I've been using like the most, especially back from Cauldron. I've been using like the classics, the greats, right? Like I
Mm.
killed 2 players with a wraith. They almost died to a Lamia. Like I used in my adventures, I used what is it? Salamanders and rust monsters and
Mm.
varghouls and all that stuff. So I really went like for the classics that you see quite often. I don't have a good I don't have a good what do you call that anecdote for you now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I think obviously I've done the same, but for MM2 and Fiend Folio, intentionally designed around unusual, like rarer monsters from the original run. I think obviously the original monster manual, very little hasn't been used somewhere effectively, and I've used olive slimes a few times just because I think do have you'll remember this in the Stolen City in Hungry Earth 1, the Stolen City. I used the vents were like popping olive slimes all over the room in that mini dungeon, if you remember that.
Fair. Yes.
I think that's
No, go ahead. In Slithheim, in Slithhive. Oh, I've actually fought those when I played the adventure using a different system, different DM. But I used a group of Blindheim. They were worshipping like 2 froggy moths, right, as their idols. So this would be a complex encounter, and that part of the caverns was actually protected from the sort of like hive-like slith by a it was a patch of fungus that if you shone light on it, it began to absorb the light and began to glow, and then basically in one turn you get a sort of atomic blast that incinerates everything in the cavern, which the Blindheim, of course, would use to kill prey. So that will be my entry for today.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. I've used a Blindhim or Blindhim or Blindhim once in the Great Willow, which was like weird, mythic dungeony. That was my Fiend Folio Monster Manual 2 dungeon, which is on the Patreon. So yeah, we are, as we say, we are on Sleepy Bear Arrakis, as Sven puts it, Sleepy Bear Arrakis, and I think we'll lead with these just while we're here. Ollie says he'd read Ursine Dunes quite close to it being published before I started OSR games. I was really annoyed by the intentional vagueness, coyness of the writing, which I think get endemic of in both middle and later OSR modules. He adds,
it's a little bit decadent. We'll get into it, where it's trying to be a little bit too cutesy with the writing. You do notice, but I don't think it's at the level yet where I guess the cutesiness and these are all stylistic devices, right? I don't think it overwhelms the adventure as a whole, which I think probably works. We'll get into that. Of course,
Gabor
the
says
original
it's nice to see us reviewing Bear Jam. Yeah, this is the Jam Bear. And Jeff says they say the Bear Jam still exists this very day.
It still hasn't been. It hasn't completed.
Yeah,
that's right. It hasn't been. No. It hasn't ended. Yeah.
No.
All right. R.I.P. Vote up, like, and subscribe if you want to see more Bear Jam related content.
So just seeing
Slumbering Ursine Dunes, Owen. What do you think?
Was yes.
Is it on your yes?
Yes. What do I think? I should say I do have all the original books.
You have all of the
What Ho Frog Demons. Yeah, I've run a couple of sessions.
Kutalik acid fantasy.
Yeah,
can you talk to us, Owen, about Chris Kutalik? Who is he? What does he do?
I don't know. He is. I mean, I think he's a union organizer who lives in Texas. But I think Chris, correct me, or someone correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, please. But he was someone I guess I came across early into my exposure to the OSR or whatever. Like I kind of came in late G+ era, I guess.
That is late.
Yeah, late G+. And so and it's mostly because I think I was just I was interested in different. I think it's things like Against the Wicked City by Joseph Manola and Monsters and Manuals. Noisms. There are people like that who I thought they just had cool settings and cool ideas and addressed stuff well. And I came across, I don't know exactly where first, across Slumbering Ursine Dunes and stuff that way. And just at that point, I think because systemically I was working out what I wanted to do, but aesthetically I was interested in kind of different aesthetics, not of play necessarily, but just in terms of world. And I think that's something I've definitely iterated over time. And I think there is a limited palette, but it's not very limited. It's just somewhat limited palette of what worlds work for D&D, what kinds of worlds. And so I got it, and I picked up others as the years went by. There is Slumbering Ursine Dunes. This is the Hill Cantons universe, by the way.
Fever Dreaming Malenko, of course,
which is a city adventure supplement. And Misty Isles of the
Misty
Eld.
Eyes of the Eld and Watho Frog Demons.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a world. It's, as I say, Slavic and mythos inspired, but it also has like an interesting take on it. Twist stuff like devils are functionally the devils are David Bowie inspired, like Eldar, space elves, Melniboneans, some combination of those things, and the demons are replaced by frog demons, basically by from the hot hell, the cold hell, and the hot hell. And you know, you have like godlings you can just go and meet. Everything is kind of a bit humorous, and I think I enjoyed it at the time, and I enjoy it now, and I have run a bit of it, and it I think because what I'll say is I think it is D&D. It is something where the adventures work, the world works as a D&D world. It just maybe it overleans on, and we'll touch on this, but maybe it overleans on front loading the humor. The fact there is always it's explicitly funny rather than implicitly funny. There's an example actually. I was just flicking through Watho Frog Demons, which has a hex crawl, the world in it, like it's the world book, and there's the Tomb of the Great Deodand, and he.
Yeah, I was just about to say you have not mentioned the massive, pervasive, dying Earth influence.
Jack Vance, Jack Vance influence,
on this
definitely,
world. Yeah.
Gleaming bronze doors leading to a terribly gaudy, rhinestone-encrusted mausoleum containing the long-fallen king of the tribe of the Deodans in Hex 1802. When the mausoleum is opened, the gleaming and translucent ghost of the great Deodand is discovered pacing feverishly in a regal, ruby-adorned jacket and shimmering flared pants ensemble, muttering about ungrateful youngsters who'd offer up a gold sum up to a 2 gold bit demigod. And there's a lot of this, basically. You know, it depends on your tolerance for that. And that, in terms of Jeff saying, you saying cuteness and coyness, and it needs tempering. I think that's the thing is, if it's the main thing that people are enjoying or going, you know, getting from the setting, that's probably not ideal. What do you think?
Okay. I'm not sure if I even agree that you would have to dial it down necessarily. I think, right. So, thank you for asking, Owen. I will explain how I stumbled across Chris Kutalik. Well, you know, this was one of my earlier reviews, I think, and
I might have read your review. I don't know.
You may have. You may well have. I stumbled upon Chris Kutalik like a little bit earlier in my reviewing escapades, and this was at a time when sort of the OSR was just sort of like accelerating and becoming very, very creative, but it wasn't totally ruined yet. So after a period of like, I mean, before that, Osric was kind of dominant. You didn't really have, I witnessed the birth of like the first, the first like real retro clones that weren't direct clones, the first old school games. Lamentations had just come out, all that stuff. So people were kind of like, experimenting and pushing the envelope when it came to what you could do with settings. And I guess Slumbering Ursine Dunes for Labyrinth Lord was like a prime example of that. But, and this is critical to state, it's not ruined yet. It's not some guy who wants to do Jack Fan stuff and just sees like a collective and just goes in and whatever fucks some stuff on paper. This is a guy who plays and runs D&D quite regularly, and even credits his playtesters, who also happens to like whatever Jack Fans and Japery and all this sort of weird Slavic mythology. So I would say, this is a kind of like the what do you call that? The atmosphere, the tone of the work. This is a specific taste, and for a lot of people, this may be too much. But when I see this, I'm like, I could find players for this, right? I could good session.
I think it's an easy sell to a lot of. It's one thing is understanding there is like a mid ground in terms of people you might play with, normal people, but who they're not online people who are really into the OSR, but they're people who like D&D but aren't experts. This is the kind of thing aesthetically you could sell a lot of people on. Like, I guess I do think it can be go too far. I think a little bit of the explicit humor goes a long way because D&D is quite funny anyway. Like,
This no, yeah, but
yeah,
this
yeah,
is what is I had a term for this. I guess I would call it picaresque or boutique store or
mhm,
fun, definitely funny voices D&D.
yeah.
This is not
Gus just switched off. He just left.
yeah, he just pulled the plug. This is absolutely 100%
Mm,
cutesy, boutique store, everything customized, literally explicitly funny voices, Dungeons and Dragons. You play this for there's gameplay in it. It is definitely it's not fake. But you
mhm.
play this for the atmosphere. You know, this is
Yeah,
an
I was going to say yes.
experience.
You could pick this over something else. Yeah, I do think you're right in terms of he. Um, this was based on a long running campaign, which then I did pause and then started back up again. In that sense, in terms of that real heyday, the end of the heyday of the old OSR, you can compare it to Anomalous Subsurface Environment as well, which similarly was something that was based on lots of actual play. Did pause and then restart. Obviously, it's as a product, it's a dead product, but there's more than enough to play for most people. Actual years of a game
Yeah,
already out there. And you can get more from the blog if you want from Patrick Wetmore's blog, Henchman Abuse from Patrick Wetmore's blog. But yeah, I think that's the thing is that it's these were things where whatever the aesthetic, in that case, humorous science fantasy, which some people might not like, I enjoy. But the point is, in both cases, one thing that grounds them and makes them functional games, not to give a comparison to a product I kind of like. I have a not quite, it's not a guilty appreciation of, but I could pretend it is. But Silent Titans by Patrick Stewart, where you're like, there's a bunch of stuff wrong with this, but there's obvious, genuine, real insight into
but
interesting situations you could
the
enjoy
idea.
playing. Yeah,
Whoa,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. But the
I've
difference
never
is
gotten around
yeah,
to it.
yeah. The difference is that has these great things that you're like, oh, that is fun. That could be quite good. That would be fun. Whereas this is the finished product of this is just something which is a D&D module, a good D&D module. I
It's a
think.
jape.
Yeah,
Also, what
yeah,
we're talking up
mhm,
we're talking up a point crawl there, but he
yeah,
does. Hold on a minute. There is something to be said for it that he uh,
mhm,
it's actually kind of interesting that he places his. I I think he even states explicitly that it started out as a sort of like a hex crawl.
yes,
Um, but uh, effectively it's a point crawl because you have these giant dunes of like
mm, yeah,
red colored sand, I believe, which is very fine and which can only be traversed extremely slowly. So
yeah,
uh, uh, the adventure allows you to just traverse the dunes in any direction, but it's just it goes at such a ruinous pace. Like basically, what is it, 100 feet every 1.5 hours or something like that.
yeah,
That practically speaking, you're probably going to have to
yeah.
use the various paths
No,
to
and I think
go
that's
between.
fine. It's essentially it's the same as having a hex map, but with impassable hex sites. Like if I play Hex Encounter board games, when you have your Great British Road Trip, or whatever,
Right.
we will have to play some, as well as D&D, we'll have to play some historical war games. But in that case, obviously, like you're like, no, you can't cross that river. It is 30 feet deep and there are no bridges. Like, okay, well, that is just impassable. There's a hex there, but you can't cross it. And it's the same. It's that principle here. We'll get to the map in a minute, but I should say he did relocate it for ease of use, just to know where it is, onto the Marlinko. So I'm not switching PDF, sorry. The Marlinko hex crawl map. So it does have like 12 hexes there. So if you want
Oh,
to
I
see what
see.
it looks like on the regional map, you can. That it's just that if you're playing it, you might as well play with the point crawl rules once we're in the area. Hey Marcelo, good to have you. So yeah, no, I agree. It's justified here. So yes, there's a few things. One thing to say is he immediately introduces a concept we will come back to, I think, but the chaos index. One thing that is a link throughout his modules is the idea that the players change the world by either creating chaos or by reducing chaos, and other things happen due to the player's action. So it's a way of putting timers in, but the timers are not timers, but they're kind of like a percentage advance on certain other events happening, essentially based on if you do more chaos or if you do more law, which I think that is also an immediately upfront interesting thing. The idea that the world changes based on the player's activities in a way that the module measures and doesn't leave up to the DM to work out afterward.
I guess it's a way to make things feel, or at least to model, like, I guess, sort of a changing environment to make things feel more sort of like dynamic and less static. I'm It's an interesting idea. I don't think it's critical to like what makes the Dunes work. But yeah,
It's
I have
part
no
of the
problem with
boutique
it.
thing. As you said, you sold it as as atmospheric and boutique, and part of that
Yes,
atmospheric boutique thing is also if you kill all the lawful thing, if you kill like Yaril and Yaramil, sorry, and Medved and everything good or lawful, everything's going to go crazy.
everything sort of collapses and becomes
Yeah,
chaotic. Yeah,
yeah.
it's not bad for sure.
Yeah, you get a lot of this. There's a little myth how the Dunes came to be, which explains where Medved, the bear godling, comes from. And then we should talk about this because a big thing. This is peak in a positive sense, I think, peak faction play of that era. The idea that there's lawful good, lawful evil, chaotic good, chaotic evil factions, and the players can choose who to side with or play them off against each other. They can take missions for each of these four factions. They have advantages from dealing with these four factions.
That's that's sort of true. I do think that certain configurations make a lot more sense. Like you can't really. It's very likely that you'll be you'll be contesting against the Eld, right? The weird
And Andre's Reavers. Essentially, yeah.
The chaotic evil faction too, right? I mean, it gives you like what 30% or something that Andre, the were shark guy, he just like he seems very friendly and jovial, but like there's just a percentage chance he attacks you if you
30% on
talk
each
with
time.
him.
He just can't help himself and attacks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm gonna say I will. Let's. Is it?
But there's definitely an attempt, and this was again the it's maybe for people that are latecomers to the OSR. It almost seems like certain elements are like sort of fetishized, but you have to understand that like this was almost like this was like lost technology for a while. So
Yeah.
when
You mean
people move,
factions? The idea there were different groups of people you could talk to.
yeah, from the D20 era, this was kind of like very it still existed in some places. It was kind of like threatened with extinction. So when people moved from that game and from fourth edition into the OSR, certain immediately noticeable differences. These I have talked about this with people for a while, but I don't have a name for this phenomenon. But the point is that um, basically something is good and desirable, and what people do is they focus on the most immediately recognizable attributes of that good and desirable thing, and like all of the other things in that good and desirable game or game school that are also great but more subtle, these kind of get forgotten or pushed aside. And for the OSR, this became faction play. The answer's not on your character sheet. Whoa, random.
Yeah.
Whoa, tables. Right. That it's not that
Combat is
those
a
things are
failure state.
right. Yeah, combat is a failure. Okay, now that came later when somebody hit his hand or something like that. But the point being, right, is that it's not that those things are bad. It's just that they kind of like they were weighted more heavily than really they are. And this would have been this was the heyday of that era. So of course, faction play. They were like, OSR faction play. You don't have to fucking kill everything, right? You can talk with people, yeah. And and the game kind of reflects that. And to
Yeah.
his credit, it's decently well done, I would say. They're not, you can do assignments for them, I guess. The chance that you'll do the type of like, to me, faction play is always at its most interesting when you can backstab and deceive and scheme and switch sides, do sudden heel turns. You're working for one guy, but then you go to the others and you're like, no, like I'm actually going to work for you, and then you go back and you do a triple cross, right?
Yeah, I was going
That's
to
kind
say
of the appeal.
your Jimbo / Red Nails
Yes.
is sort of the
Yes,
classic. Of course,
correct.
that's actually almost the opposite of combat as a failure state, because often you're going to end up with some sort of orgy of
Some
violence
sort
where
of
loads of people die. Yeah,
brutal ambush or
yeah,
slaughter. Yeah,
yeah,
that's why
yeah,
you do it, right?
yeah. And no,
Yeah,
to be fair, this doesn't quite fully push in that direction, but it gives you some options in that direction. What I mean is, what it's that there are these factions, and you could choose to work out what your best offer was and what your options were, and
sure.
you can go around being peaceful and negotiating for as long as possible. And I think that's something which, yes, certainly is part of that era of OSR design philosophy. It just is good. It's well done here, and particularly, to be fair, partly because it does just frankly say it's going to be easier to side with the lawful good and the chaotic good factions than the lawful evil and the chaotic
Yeah,
evil
yeah,
factions.
of course, and it's also just a case of you go into this weird area, and it is. I think he does a good job of like,
Mhm,
um, the you can't just simply like walk into the slumbering Ursine Dunes. This
mhm,
really is like some sort of transfigured, unnatural place. There are
mhm,
entrances into it and exits, right? Like, but it seems
mhm.
like remote from the rest of civilization. But like while you're there, you encounter like some funny voiced NPC men that you can maybe work for, but also maybe rob, right? And the game kind of
Yeah,
leaves it open, and that's fun.
yeah. No, indeed. I do like. I should say. Well, I've got to off the actual city voices place, but I'll say the four factions are Yaramir the Old Smith, who is the champion of the Sun God, who's the Sun Lord. Sorry, who's a very important god in the cantons. And he's kind of retired here and created. And this is quite nice that in a low key way, he's just settled somewhere, and his sons have settled nearby, and so civilization has sprung up. I think that's quite a nice touch. Like, do you know what a lawful good champion does when he retires? He just builds civilization, and he's kind of funny and goofy, but yeah, he's about the most useful of the factions as well, because he gives you stuff. He'll be like, as in he gives you stuff that helps in adventures. If you are being friendly or if you're fighting the evil factions, he's like, here's some stuff, and it could be magical, it could just be good adventuring gear. um Medved, the is a god, the bear godling will reward you for certain things, but doesn't really, he's not quite as explicit in terms of like, here's some extra stuff to help. He might give you classic hyperbrain pornography, for instance, as a reward.
Yes,
I've
I do
Yeah,
like the subtle details. The just in
yeah,
general, Slumbering Ursine Dunes is, and again, it is pure boutique style. The guy opens with a almost a page-long creation myth that he wrote himself. That uh,
yeah.
not a lot of people would have been able to pull that
Oh,
off
it's
without
actually good.
you
I should say
rolling
it's
your
actually
eyes.
good.
Yeah.
Like, the writing is
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
The
yeah.
writing is
No,
good.
no, no.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it is. It is. And then what is it? Maybe the ambiguously gay bear god that's like subtle. What is it like? Oh, do you like woodcuts about gladiators? Just like it just throws it in there like a, yeah, like a weird, ambiguously homoerotic query. It's like, okay, I was like, yeah, that's perfect. I can work with that, right? But yeah, that's yeah, vaguely homoerotic queries. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, no, this is again, this is boutique style D&D. We're going in there. We're going to have some japes. It may be dangerous, but this is a game of mood and atmosphere.
yeah, yeah. And the reason you get this, what the big ticket NPCs talk like, which I actually quite like, and I've seen occasionally other modules, and I'm like, I think, though this could encourage too many silly voices, for the DM who wants to have a world that kind of feels alive, but it doesn't really want to act, doesn't want to be like, let's do loads of improv, I will think loads about it. Just giving people a bit of like a steer towards, this is how this faction works and talks, can actually help build the atmosphere without it needing to become an improv class. Uh,
I
but
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that in
yeah,
many
yeah.
I was going to say that in many adventures already doing it like that. I mean, it doesn't take up a lot of space, right? But
No.
probably very often it would already be considered excessive. But if you're
Mhm.
going to go this hard
Yeah.
on sort of a weird exotic
Mhm.
setting, then yeah, by all means, you're selling it right, like as as
Yeah.
this, you're doing it as an experience. So of course,
Yeah.
by all fucking means, give people tips on how to do
Yeah.
these NPCs. Yeah, for sure.
Like, just to go, Yaramir, he can't hear, so he pretends not to hear you you ask him stuff about the dunes because he won't acknowledge anything is there. If you kill stuff that he doesn't like, he rewards you, but he refuses to talk about it. What's that? Runes? There ain't such a thing around here, Sonny. Or Andre is very polite, but obviously like menacing, and you think you can play that up like it's literally a gigantic shark looking at you. I think there's a picture of
it would be like a deep, come sup and drink with me, something like that.
Yeah, this guy being very friendly. Yeah, look at very genuinely unpleasant picture, by the way.
I should state that the adventure also forbids you to portray the pirates as having 17th or 18th century buccaneer accents. That is so it's not just.
I've been reading Pirate Freedom by Gene Wolfe.
Okay,
it's time traveling pirates.
Okay, so so do we have this is I think where the quirkiness gets. The elk is all emperor. The eld is all take him to the disintegration chamber. Yeah, this is all
even if he's in alliance, even if the eld are in an alliance with you, which I like the idea that you're like, oh yeah, we work together to fight Andre, and they're like, yes. You're fit only for the protein vats.
Man-ape fools. I think the guy who does. I don't know if you've ever seen that episode of Star Trek Voyager, but you've got an episode called The Bride of Chaotica, which is kind of like an homage to Flash Gordon. And then you've got a guy who does Emperor Ming, who's like Emperor Chaotica. The absolutely scenery chewing, grandiose, villainous statements. Absolutely. So definitely use that as a template. I was going to say this is like this rumor table. So I think this is really funny. But this is also, I can imagine that if you're looking for more, what do you call that? If you're looking for more standard fare or something, you could just plunk down with no prep or comparatively little preparation in your game. You're going to get tired of this shit very quickly, and that's not a problem. It's not an indictment against this module, because it's not what this is not saying like, oh, here we go, you can just plunk this right down and no problem, it'll be easy to use. This is like again, we're going boutique here, but this is funnier more for the guy reading it than for the people experiencing.
Oh yeah, some of these are gags. The most obvious one being what was it? The servants of the masters. Oh no, not that one.
Just the qualifications alone. Just every. This is like,
the master of the dunes is a colossal perv and a bore to boot, libel and slander of the worst sort. Of course, the irony is that he is kind of a perv and a bore. It's just he's also okay.
Sure. But it's all of the sort of the senseless extra precision in all of the qualifications of the rumors. Like the players don't know that you're using all these different qualifications, right? But it's just funny to read. And that's kind of like where we go into you're writing it to amuse, and every once in a while you throw the DM a bone. Obviously making something entertaining to consume also makes it easier, but I can understand that some people are like, this is a little bit too much for me.
As you can see, obviously more there's an encounter table, centaur toll collectors, giant antlions, sand snakes, pelgranes, hawks, that sort of thing.
That was I thought that was so pelgranes again, jack hands. But I love that too, that the centaurs, if I recall, were actually allied to Medved.
They are,
But the first thing they do is just extort you. They're like they're huge assholes immediately. So that's I think that's again also maybe that is the sort of a Vancian trope where you always encounter travelers. They're just very often they're just mean pricks trying to get one up on you. But it's kind of fun that like, so the chaotic good faction isn't necessarily like nice. These centaurs, they're just actually pricks trying to if you encounter these patrols in the beginning, they're okay, but at some point if you walk into the centaur camp, they actually basically begin to bully you and just they're just trying to see if they can extort some money out of you.
They collect tolls on behalf in the name of the master, but it's not complete, and they give out like a ticket, but it's not completely clear how far Medved cares about this. It is just like, well, maybe we can get away with it.
It's just a bunch of it's a sort of actually in that sense it is well done. That like just the chaotic faction, even if they're good, they're still just like kind of pricks.
Yeah, I was going to say he also has soldier bear pilgrims and black bears, like actual natural black bears, and they are not so bad because soldier bears, I think, is it? I mean, is it actually in the back of Slumbering Ursine Dunes? One thing is, Sud does also have some other stuff, like it has appendices. It has it has a it has hirelings, it has classes, cave dwarfs and war bears.
There's
it
a
has some
bear.
spells.
There's a soldier bear class, and I remember this. That what is it, at a certain level you could invent your own pole arm, like your own special pole
At
arm,
level
as a sort of
6.
like
At level 6.
as a sort of like salute to
The
the
Gygax.
excessive
Yeah.
Gygaxian pole arm
Yeah.
collection in the PHV that never gets used. It's just a little tip of the hat. And yeah, you kind of have to like, and the media class is perfectly fine, of course.
Yeah.
It's like as a little bonus class. I don't mind
Yeah.
this idea of like having an extra so much. Like I always imagine, well, what would you do if you if you wanted to do something with a robot or like R2D2,
Yeah.
having like a what is it, race and class combination for that would be a little silly. It would just be
Yeah.
like one.
ASE 2 to
Yeah,
3 does have a robot as a
a
race
robot
class, of
class.
course.
Yeah,
Yeah,
perfect. Yeah, race as
because
class. Yeah,
which works. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I know, and
exactly.
it's a natural way to do it because it means you can then say all the rules for this class are contained in the class rather than like, oh, by the way, this is how it changes every single other rule in the game. I
Yeah,
think second edition actually
it's
interesting has a
fine if it
couple
only
of
has one.
cases. Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Mhm.
I was gonna say like it's fine if you don't, if it's not a super varied archetype or species. If you just say no, listen, this is the talking owls. Oh, you get a
Yeah.
talking owl companion. Whatever, somebody wants to play that, and you made a talking owl class. Don't give
Yeah.
them like a race and a class combination. Just whatever. Here, 5
Yeah.
hit
Yeah.
dice of talking owl. Go ahead. Yeah.
Exactly. There's ways to
Yeah.
do it. I think also what was I going to say? It's interesting. Second edition actually, which does have race class split, obviously second edition
Of course.
AD&D,
Yeah.
um,
Based on AD&D.
will
Yeah.
occasionally set up a particular combination to with class and kit, where
Yeah.
like specialist things, where everything basically becomes not mandatory. You still have
Kits
choices,
are, of
but
course, haram. That's
hurrah,
horrible.
they're
Yeah.
subclasses. But
Oh,
that
okay. Okay. I
you
see.
can tell that they sometimes come up with, they're like, we need to solve the problem of having something quite customized, and they have to do it by being like, this is how it changes these things, and a much more to be fair to BX, that is a much more efficient thing, inverted commas, about where you can say, no, I've just made a completely new class. This was itself a cargo cult within within the OSR, and it did connect to stuff like GLOG and other stuff like it. It has had many offshoots over the years, but I think at one point it did feel like more or less every other blog was mostly coming up with classes that weren't being used in anyone's games. I think.
That's always a problem of like I guess there's a sort of supply and demand problem there that realistically speaking, you don't really need very many extra classes. Whereas they're very fun to make, and they don't. I mean, making a good one is really difficult, but making
Yeah.
one at all is very easy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just
Yeah. I was
what is
going to say.
grist for the
Yeah.
content for the content gods, I guess. Grist for the
Yeah.
content mill, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's Dolmenwood, as in it was already the case in the pre-Patreon period and the early Patreon period,
Yeah.
but it moved over from race and class, race as class, which you can still use optionally, over to race and class, and some of those classes being very much customized. So there's like, there's a first level divine caster, but he is combat wise weak, but he has other advantages. There's, instead of the illusionist and druid, you instead have people who cast a variety of special runes and glamours from the fairies, like things like that. And you're like, okay, this makes sense in the setting. I don't know, despite I've played it a bit and I'm sure it has been played by others. I don't know exactly how balanced and tested and really tuned it is compared to even the AD&D 1 stuff, or even the OD&D stuff. But it is something where it makes sense for certain settings that you're going to have quite different classes. But in general, there are reasons to avoid innovation in that direction. Jeff says racist class is fun and I love it and I won't suffer any insults against its honor. I don't think we were insulting its honor. I think we were saying it was fun. If you're playing a game that supports it.
I had a question about the wandering critter encounter table. This will probably be a standard frequency now, or has he? I guess it would take about 30 minutes to travel between any 2 points.
10 minutes per node. Flying on levitating ones, characters using climb dunes, 90 minutes
otherwise
per map
30
node.
minutes.
Yeah, great.
Well,
So, yeah.
isn't that with the if we just do 1d6 per turn, isn't that like a bit much? I don't know.
You see, I presume it's not 1d6 per turn. I'm trying to remember.
Does he specify this, or is it story gaming?
Is it possibly not just 1d6 check per node?
Per hour.
Per node.
Per
node.
Per hour? Oh no! He linked it to nodes, not to time. That's extremely.
It should say something somewhere. Trying to find where does it say it. I don't remember.
There we go. There we go. All our dreams were lies.
Yeah, but yes, we may come across it exactly, but yes, we'll go forward. We'll skip it. We'll go to the point core map. Let's go to the point core map. I think is the next thing. Using the map, and you can see here it's quite nice. I quite like the art here. It has individual node art. The map. What is it? Cover and interior art. Cartography is by David Lewis Johnson. Not someone I know from elsewhere, but
talented artist.
Yeah,
talented
enjoy
cartographer, I guess.
Yeah. He doesn't necessarily use him later. So, for instance, in What Ho Frog Demons, it is
Carl been let go.
Yeah. It's because he sounds too much like a 1990s epic philosophical novel kind of novelist who eventually shoots himself. But yeah, you can see, you start at Kugelberg and then you have, so Kugelberg is your opening assessment. This is, by the way, levels 2 to 4. For very low levels there, I think if you're doing a campaign in the setting, you do want What Frog Demons.
Also OSR trope, you encounter 2 gods at level 2 to 4. That's also very OSR.
Yeah. I was going to say, you have an 8th level fighter who is like the champion of one god, and then you have 2 godlings who are cousins who live in the same area and don't like each other. And you also have like David Bowie, Ming the Merciless, Melnibonean space elves from hell. Like that is the setup, isn't it? Really. So yeah, you got, as you can see, the one thing that shows that this is real stuff here is that actually the individual points on the point node, there are 2 dungeons as well, but the points on or like 3, the points on the point node are simple and short and easy to understand, and are usually about an encounter. They're like, oh yeah, there's some centaurs here trying to rob people. There's the hermit here who actually helps people. He's a nice guy and he's here to help you, that sort of thing. So I think that's the thing, that most of these are fairly simple points, which are enough to fill a session. You can do several points in a session. You can have several encounters, and that is a thing that you said picaresque earlier. I think that is a type of gameplay that maybe we can accidentally neglect talking about. But the idea that you just go around having these encounters is one thing that sometimes happens in your D&D gameplay.
I will say they're not so much. What do you call that? I'll respond to that later, but I don't think they're that simple necessarily. I guess some of them are straightforward, but in the way that he writes the encounters, he's usually pretty. It does feel like you're reading game encounters, is what I'm saying. Like somebody who's trying to sort of anticipate likely interactions that the party is going to do. Very often too, like there was one, to give you an example, right? There is, what is the tomb of the cairn of the Sloth Rock?
Yep, we're on that page now.
Yeah. So with the cairn of the Sloth Rock, it's not just okay, bam, here you go. You walk into the area, the Sloth Rock is there. You have a combat. Here's your treasure. Now fuck off. It's a little bit more subtle like that, like where he understands this sort of process of D&D, this investigation component where it's just a cairn, and then if and only if the players actually take the trouble to like sort of like dig it out, they're willing to sink the time into it. Then there's like a shaft down to a chamber. Then you land. Then the creature animates and all that stuff. And there's all this sort of rich extra little detail in there. It's pretty good. I like it.
Here's
Right.
also,
So
to
it's
be
not
clear,
so simple.
the Slothrog is, of course, the guardian of an ancient burial ground of chivalrous sloths.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, we should emphasize what we're talking about in terms of the aesthetic. But yeah, like it's a detailed thing, and I would say it's, what is it, 8 HD -1 AC. It has a +1 bastard sword, and it has ornate tournament field plate worth 1,000 gold if sold. The treasure in that sense is not particularly amazing, and probably that's fair
It
in
can
general.
cast
There was
it can cast
weird
slow as well. If you don't have
yeah,
spells, then this thing will kill all of you.
yeah,
You just got to be lucky, I guess. This is pretty fucking
yeah.
horrible.
Yeah, it's 8. To be fair, HP isn't horrendous. So if you are like 4th level, you don't have pathetic chances of hitting enough to kill it. But if this is one of those things where you have a party of 8, including a couple of 4th level fighters, you could pull it out of the bag because it only has 1 attack. It has slow twice a day, but it only has 1 attack per round. So there is a degree to which you can just swamp it. But if you're a party of like 4 third level guys and a follower, you're going to die. It's
And the question is also, you probably don't know how tough it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
A question by Mr. Lux, I think,
So,
right?
well,
So the
I'll go
tradition
through
of
both these.
okay,
I'll
all right,
I'll
Mr.
go through
Simpson
both points. Yeah.
first. Of
Yeah.
course, Mr. Simpson.
Mr. Simpson
You are
suggests
in
we
the
should
land
only
of
be using
chocolate.
deities and demigods. Presumably, we are, of course, talking about the original print of deities and demigods.
Azathoth and
Before.
Odin
Yeah, indeed.
are valid level 2 encounters. I do have I have ambitions to expand Slith Hive, and if that expansion actually manifests, I will definitely be using more gods.
Yeah.
But I just feel at level 2 to 4,
Yeah.
probably not so. Well, there's always the ancient problem, right? Well, you already defeated you defeated some sort of titan at level 1 to 3. What do you do? What do you do at level 6? So Ryan's to Kutalik to Kur.
We reviewed
Is it a lineage?
3 months ago, I think 3 months ago, something
Yes.
like that. Or 2 months ago, something. Yep. So you can go back and look at us. We haven't reviewed anything by Jeff Ryans. We could look at Broodmother Sky Fortress sometime if you want. Yeah, interesting. Something interesting by him.
So to me, Ryan's is there's definitely a difference here, because to me, Ryan's is like 100% twee, 0% world building and boutique D&D, but he's just he lives or lived before he was level drained. He lived in that area of like I guess sort of a magical, maybe pre fantasy convention, pure fun gonzo D&D. So that's a completely unpretentious fun. Kutalik, also fun, but then it's more like look at this, I've got my own little world, my own little setting. Again, smart references to japes and jeers are in there, references to Vance, makes his own kind of like world, tries to do much more with atmosphere and silly voices. And I guess Brad Kerr could be a sort of like synthesis of that, but Kerr is definitely closer to Ryan's than Kutalik, I think. If I look at Brad Kerr, all his ideas are sort of like very they're simple ideas, right? This is not a person who like spends any sort of time making elaborate cosmology. Definitely also not so much, I think, as stylist, but his work does have a sort of a real sense of like fun and creative energy and vibrancy to it, that kind of helps it carries it along, even though it's sometimes structurally very weak.
Yeah, and I think Kutalik has edge. Basically, I know that's not quite what you said, but I almost want to sum up what you said at some level. A difference might be how much Kutalik has edge. There is this sort of slightly brooding and punch you in the face stuff going on underneath, like
Uh,
in the best way possible. Like that,
more
yeah,
a cynic, like more
yeah,
cynical, whereas Ryan's is, of course, views everything through the eyes of he's like John Hammond from Jurassic Park. He views everything through
yeah,
the eyes of a child.
yeah, of
I
making
also
money off resurrecting dinosaurs. That's Jeff Ryan's.
exactly. There's not.
He
It's
thinks,
the no. I mean, he's already a millionaire or a billionaire. He doesn't need to, but he
yeah,
wants dinosaurs to be alive. He wants that, like, right? The
yeah, yeah.
childlike wonder
What you're saying is Chris Kutalik is Jeff Goldblum,
is
and
more Jeff Goldblum. Yeah,
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 that's a good
yeah.
analogy. I like that.
And
I
Brad Kerr is
100%
the guy who
support.
dies in the toilet.
I support Jeff Simpson, and I oppose you, Owen. We should do Zillarthan's Tower. He's correct.
Yeah, 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 yeah. We could do that. Anyway,
Anyway,
there's a Bearling holy site. Oh yeah, there's a bunch of fun
wait,
stuff.
you skipped the Gru. It's another, just
Well, he's at the
so
top of the page.
perfect.
He's the top. Explosion of the copse reveals a sandstone surface rips with a 3-foot crack. A short vertical shaft of 10-foot descends into a 20-foot wide cave. The layer of a ferocious Gru. 6 HD, 32 HP. AC3, attack 1, 2d6. Perpetual darkness globe. Hidden among the many bones in the cave is a silvery ball that induces an orgasmic sensation in the handler, worth 1,000 GP if sold to a bawdy house or decadent fop. I mean,
All the
this
treasures
is a
are
prank.
like
This is a
sleazy.
prank. This is a prank, isn't it? This is
eh,
nice prank. This isn't this.
esoteric, weird, erotic,
Yeah,
erotic objet
but it's
d'art.
important
Yeah.
that it is in something where you go down into a single room dungeon and there is a monster that casts perpetual darkness globe and does
No, yeah, it always
2d6
radiates
damage.
it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like really
Attack.
bad if you would if that would happen
Yeah.
to you. Yeah. But it's the
Yeah.
Gru. It's perfect.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, I think this is one thing that, again, may I suggest a little bit goes a long way with that kind of thing, is you can have one prank. If you're doing like a 30-page adventure, you can have one prank.
You can have many more pranks than that.
Yeah, yeah. It's like 4 pranks per page.
And that's Kelvin Green is at I think every paragraph needs one pun, or like every half page one pun. Then you're at the
No,
1
puns are okay. No,
million.
I'm okay with puns. I'm talking about actual pranks in the game, like things
Yeah,
like, do you know what's a prank? Going into accidentally going into a room with a 2d6 damage monster who creates a perpetual darkness globe.
I mean,
And
it's just an elaborate, funny boutique version of the B2 cave with the what is in there again? Like some sort of ooze and an owl bear and almost no
yeah,
treasure,
yeah,
right? Yeah, it's really just like that.
yeah. Ollie says, though he's criticizing the writing, he does remember many of the encounters. That's one thing, is I suspect there's a degree to which, like, it is vastly overstated how valuable inspiration is. I don't mean you shouldn't read stuff to be inspired by it. You become a good writer in any field by reading in that field. But what I mean is people are like, oh, I just read stuff. I don't really use or run modules. And it turns out those people don't really run D&D either. But I would say there's a degree to which actually really good writing, even if you're not going to run the specific module, does actually help you as a DM and as a module designer. And I think if you're reading something and you're like, I don't love all of this, but I really think the encounters are interesting, that probably is high praise to say that you're like, yeah, this has something to teach you. If the particular,
of course, there's a certain appeal for sure.
Yeah, I will. Let's go forward a couple of pages. There's a good Slavic myth one here. Magic rye field. Incongruously, a 100-foot square field of lush rye grows in a flattened space. It's nestled between protecting dune ridges. Barely visible on unused trails run west and northeast here. And there's this wheat. It's 6 foot high, emanates magic. If detect magic is cast. No wandering monsters. Checks are made while in the point. The magic field is haunted by 6 Polivics who have disease touch.
What are Polivics?
They
I
are
assume
in
some
the
sort
monster
of like
appendix.
minor deaths. Yeah.
I'll go to the bestiary and I
of course.
will read. In the core lands of Zem, the grainfield is simply and drearily a place of endless toil. In the borderlands, it can also be a place of terror for the unwary. That feels very Deadlands, by the way. Old Par peasants whisper tales of millennia ago when a mysterious devil called the Man introduced the Poloviki, dread spirits of the field, into the world as a gift to the lords of the land. Often, only a
Oh,
bloodied work
nice.
blouse remains behind as a sober reminder of vigilance. Once a decade or so, during high summer, when the field demons fidget with boredom, they will also lead a stray individual in the fields to their doom. Beyond the short, this is also very Witcher. Like there's these field ghosts in The Witcher. Beyond the short, sharp shock of their sickles, Poloviki also into attack by disease touch, hit at AC 9. Without save versus spells, those so touched are afflicted with virulent and dangerous yeast infection that, without treatment, spreads over the whole body before killing the victim in 1d6 plus 1 weeks. Some savants maintain that a Polovic can be appeased by tossing a sack containing a rooster, a jug of white gravy, a frog, and a pork chop into a hole in the field, but old wise women discount such newfangled theories of science.
Right. So yeah, about this, I just thought of it. If you want to, if you're going to pull this sort of stylistic trickery, you got to look at I think the length of the adventure. I imagine, so in this, I do think you've got what, 8 new monsters here or something like that.
Yeah.
You've got what is it, set 22, 23 hex locations and then 2 dungeons, right? It's quite meaty, but that's doable. I do feel that if this adventure would get increasingly more like larger and lengthy and more complex, the puns would get increasingly obnoxious, and you would, at some point, you would get really sick of this.
Yeah, I think this is kind of what I meant in terms of the it's about seasoning. There is not very much that is normal. There's a degree to which, like the quotidian travel, I'm thinking about in bigger wilderness adventures, not so much this, but big wilderness adventures where you're like, we're traveling hundreds of miles to go somewhere. We need to go through settlements. We need to fight bandits on the road. We need to do this and that. Stuff that happens in campaigns.
Right.
There's a degree to which the quotidian thing where people organize stuff and prepare, and then they go and they're rolling dice and they're checking for encounters and they fight some bandits raiding a town, and they kind of continue on, and then they talk to some people in the next town and stuff, and make some friends. And this is interspersed with things that are unusual, but there's a degree of the quotidian. And I think everything being a banger in that sense is, it's not that everything in the adventure should not be good, but rather it's this mistaken thing that everything should be flashy. Like there is something valuable in having stuff that is tone setting in a way that is not exhausting.
I would say yeah, but that's also one where you have to look at I guess the scale of it. I think that, or I would argue that if Slumbering Ursine Dunes, it's not so very large. This would be a nice and pleasant jaunt. And it has, centaurs sort of just like extorting you for 5 gold pieces that's not a flashy encounter. Obviously, the Slothrog tomb, that's a very fucking flashy encounter, right?
Yeah, and I think
there's
a
bit
high
of
percentage
differentiation there.
Yeah, I think also it depends what content. Let's say you play every week, but you have a reserve game. Like we have a reserve game, my weekly game. We have a reserve game, which is Classic Traveller, which is we play if there's like a weird allotment of people. Essentially, if it's a week on, but then some people aren't available in a way that makes it weird, which sometimes you can kind of just tell you like, okay, we're not going to be able to run this in the way we want to. We switch to Traveller, and if you like, we play every week, or nearly every week. But if there's a weird allotment of things, we play Slumbering Ursine. Well, or we play Hill Cantons, and it's then it becomes Saturday night special. You're like, oh yeah, let's go and do some goofy stuff for 3 hours or 2.5 hours or something. And then it also becomes less obnoxious than if you're like, by the way, for the next 5 years, every single encounter you're going to have is going to be a Jack Vance reference or a Ming or a Flashbulb reference.
World. Full of there's like obviously going to be a lot of factors that come into play. This is going to be rely on like the DM's ability to sort of sustain a kind of like amusing atmosphere, the players sort of like built in I guess their appetite for that sort of stuff. But yeah, I can imagine doing this for like a short jaunt into the Slumbering Ursine Dunes, very much so. the 5 or 10 year 5 or 8 year campaign into this weird Jack Vance world up until you're level 20, maybe a bit much. But nah, I think you would be able to. There's some differentiation here for sure. Like I almost think it's like it's 1 or 2 degrees more strange than normal, but there's still a differentiation between mundane, whatever centaurs or some bear
and there is
soldiers,
this idea of the weird,
the
like
really
the outskirts
strange.
are weirder. There is. I'd say this page, by the way, does have 2 examples of something that is worth bringing up to do with both weird settings and this kind of like very gnarly, slightly ill-tempered style. One is, actually, so there's this magical grain field. People are going to be freaked out by that, to be fair, but there's like magical rye in it. You can get magical grain and make magical bread that heals you. And I'm trying to remember if there's a rumor about this, but it strikes me that's the kind of thing that is going to be very hard to benefit from, and you're mostly going to accidentally find out about it, which seems unfortunate given that it is quite good, and it would be worth taking the risk of the Polovics to start getting
No, it emanates magic. Yeah. Although when are you gonna burn a detect magic spell, right? Yeah, no, but that's fine. You can have like some cryptic.
But also, what if you think,
and it's out of
what's
place
magical
as well.
is that? Yes, but then you think, oh, but it's got these weird field spirits who try to kill me. Maybe that's the magic. As I think it's something where I don't believe there is a rumor, having just double checked. So it's just a high. But that's one example. I was just saying there's an upside to the area, but it is very non-obvious. I actually like 22 Camp of Sir Eld, but this is also one of those interestingly it is kind of non-obvious that he is thoroughly unpleasant by human standards, but he's ridiculed as an incurable softy by his brethren. He will only attempt to kill or enslave a weak-looking party and may attempt to negotiate with stronger parties and become friends.
Is furniture made of shellacked human peasants, which
Yep.
I had to look up shellacked.
And he's attended by 6 Eld man, humans with artificial head bulbs, slave retainers. So, yeah,
pretty cool.
He is. It's a fun encounter, but again, this is actually not so much about the non-obviousness as the fact that as knowing the assumptions of a setting. I remember this actually. I think one of my friends, my friend Jay, who played in my Dark Sun game on the stream, and he enjoyed himself. But one thing he said was like, "I really like this. And I think it's a cool setting," but he was like, "There's so often where I realize I don't, even though I've read some of the lore, I don't know the lore enough, and I suddenly am I'm like." Why is everyone else excited about finding rusted chain kind of thing? And he's like, he's like, I got that it was because actually metal is really valuable.
Metal is rare. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was like, and he was given that as an example of he enjoyed it and he enjoyed the gameplay, but he was like, there was this thing where the world is unusual enough that he didn't know the assumptions of it. And it was harder to make decisions because of that. And I thought that was an interesting observation. And here, the fact like, well, okay, this Eld, it only has slaves and has only made some peasants into chairs, so he's kind of a nice Eld. But your players are not necessarily going to. What basis of comparison do they have? Like,
no, that's like foreshadowing in a way. Yeah. I guess it'll be difficult to sort of convey that to the players. This is one where the players might not find out. Like, at first they'll think, oh, Jesus, this is like a really big evil guy. But then they figure out that actually, oh, this is the nicest guy. That's a great way of like sort of foreshadowing or lampooning, right? Kind of the evil of the Eld. You put one down there, he's clearly evil, and then he's almost banished for being too nice.
Because he's not super cool. He mostly only wants to enslave you or
if you're weak.
If you're weak. But even killing isn't that bad. That's okay. You can't complain too
much. It's not that strange if like players are like, well, hey, why are you not with the other elves in the Golden Barge? Which is that's a Melnibonéan reference. And then he goes like, oh, what is it? He is he actually banished or merely?
He is ridiculed, which one does rather suspect is why he's on his own. I think. Yeah.
Okay. And then he
A
says,
short
"Well,
coffee table made from an elderly peasant woman holds a dainty tea set made from depleted uranium." This
yeah,
feels
come on, that's cool. Yeah, that's a
yeah.
great style.
You're gonna have to start simulating rad sickness. Maybe they're thinking a gamma world first that could help. Yeah. So Yunsun, I think the dunes are in the state they are non-obvious and based on other mythologies in the same way as Yunsuin. I think they are much more stylized than Yunsun because they are much more intentionally funny and silly and a bit edgy, whereas Yunsuin is less so. I think, in my
I'm not
experience of the two.
an expert on Yoon Soon. That's like the one big gap in my OSR reviewer
Mm,
resume, is Yoon Soon. And
mm,
but the impression I got was that like Yoon Soon really just goes full on for the. I guess it is also a type of exoticism, but here it's more.
mhm,
Uh, what do you
mm,
call it? Yeah, it's more like a jape. It's a
mhm.
slightly mean spirited.
It's
But
also more like American gods. I was thinking this actually particularly to
yeah,
do with the issue of like funny Slavic gods, which is a thing that comes up in American gods. You know, there is a degree of that sort of. This is Pomo in a way that, on the note of our opening discussion, in a way that Yun Sun is not. Yun Sun is pre-modern and modernist. This is Pomo. This is very much like, what if we mashed all this together in a funny way while winking at the audience? Um, and hence why on this page you have giant beaver engineers. I do actually really like this. I think the idea of sentient giant beavers is a Gygaxian hint, and everyone should have it. And so yeah, they maintain a diluvian reservoir, which if flooded, the soil, the kind of the area cleared of water. Like if you open the dam, the area that has been flooded reveals the last Boreans and prehistoric marine life. And there is another Slavic monster, the Zoltan the Vodnik, who tries to drown people.
the
There is,
entire ravine. One moment, does
yeah,
that refer to the entire the entire Ursine Dunes, or merely the ravine
a
here?
V-shaped reservoir of the last
Oh yeah, yeah,
floodwaters.
yeah.
It sits
Sorry,
in a
it
low
given.
point of a deep ravine and a birch forest, so you can track it. I will double
Yes.
check the map. It's not the whole of the dunes, no. To be clear,
I'm sure it'll be what is it, and then what happens next, that is up to the DM to
yeah,
decide.
which is a fairly rare example. That is number
That's also
23.
fine.
So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
23 is that it is that there is a big pool on the eastern side for 23, 24, and 25 for those three locations. And presumably the point is if that water drains, then it floods out towards the sea, because that's how that would work. The reservoir
Yeah,
would empty and head towards the sea. Coming around the reservoir has a swampy area, which is where the Vodnik is. And then there's also the tree of hanging rusalkas, who strangle people who try to camp there or whatever, and like
yeah.
to kill male PCs. Now, Zoltan the Vodnik is genuinely a fun encounter, because he is chaotic evil and wants to kill people, and partly I enjoy it because it's written in a humorous way, and that's part of the trick. We shouldn't be tricked by. Just because it's written in a fun way does not make it a good encounter. But the fact he's an interactive evil NPC, this is actually where that does work. Is he is much more able to deal with you than Andre is. Andre will mostly want to kill you. Zoltan might be willing to trade with you or whatever. He's like, oh yeah,
I think you
you
mentioned the
yeah,
Witcher earlier. This is maybe also the same sort of
mm,
like Slavic,
yeah, yeah,
fairy tale kind of like atmosphere. Just
yeah,
it is cool to encounter just the horrifically evil monsters, and
yeah,
but they're just kind of talkative. They
yeah,
don't
yeah, yeah.
necessarily immediately attack you.
Yeah,
That is
on a
fun.
shelf
Yeah.
above the water lies Zoltan's tobacco pouch and 9 small ceramic cups containing the brilliant white souls of those who have drowned in the pool. Drinking a soul heals the imbiber of all damage and maladies and gives them +1 to saves for 8 hours. He's not immediately aggressive. He will trade his stored treasures for tobacco or the induction of a hireling into the service of Vul, drowning. If he hears about Aldrich the Hermit, he'll offer the saber. He has the carved bone, the excellent work saber that is like a fine saber, +1 damage.
Right.
If they lure Aldrich to a pool, who's the nice hermit, so a religious debate can ensue, drowning. Zoltan does get on with Andre's reavers who drown deserters there, but Andre is considering whether or not he should go and kill and eat Zoltan. But the thing is, it does mean that Zoltan is way more reasonable, and you can deal with Zoltan and be his friend in a way you cannot be with Andre. And he has like healing potions, Really good healing
that are
potions.
really evil. Like
They are
it's
really
but
evil.
it's fun that I guess Kutalik, again, this is all the boutique style, but
Hmm.
also good game design, where he just
Yeah.
he writes it as a little ecosystem. So it's not Gygaxian naturalism, but it is a sort of naturalism where it's like, well, these guys are these are all in the same region, so they
Mm,
they know each other, they live in proximity. So the people don't just sit in one place and wait for the DM to show or the players to show up. They
mm,
they have relations with each other. And again,
yeah.
this is all nice, finely crafted stuff where you're trying to like
Yeah.
some method to the madness at least.
Yeah, and it's both, as you say, it's both part of that kind of boutique OSR philosophy, but the part of that one part of it that goes back to Gygax, the idea that an adventure site is a place which exists without the players. It is something which would exist anyway, and stuff that happens anyway. You don't
Yeah,
need to be there for it to matter. And I think that's good. That's like that is a really true design axiom. And when people are like, oh well, it needs to this is the thing, people trade that for story, like, oh, it has to have events that happen. Kutalik does that with the chaos index, which is the players do stuff that lead to stuff. But the idea that you should trade that for story basically always makes a weaker adventure, I think, nearly always. I don't mean that as a strict rule, but because a living site that has its own dynamics is something that players can interact with, whereas a story is something the players have to be driven by. They have to work out what the story is and then do that story is the problem, I think. So yeah, we should look at an adventure site. There are two adventure sites. There's a crashed Eld ship, which the Eld want but do not have. And there is Medved's tower. So if you're evil, you might want to steal all the stuff from Medved's tower.
wasn't there a way that Medved, if you do him a favor, he'll allow you to sort of explore some of the levels of his tower, as long as you stay out of his shit? I think it's literally
Yeah.
the quote. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can explore it. So it's not that you can't explore it, but rather it is less of if you're more likely to be helping Medved, people are going to like Medved as well. The average player will like Medved, and they're not going to like the Eld. And the Golden Barge is the one neutral, as it were, dungeon area. It is a wreck
Right.
that is inhabited by weirdos, like weird pseudo undead.
Can you show us the gulls? Yeah. Can you show us the map just to see what?
Uh,
Okay.
I will
What
let me
level
check
of
where
story gaming
I'm
we're
looking for
on?
my map reference here in
It's
the book.
already the early signs are already sneaking in, guys. Have you seen it? There's no frequency on the random encounter tables, and you're gonna see the
Mm.
map, and there will be no scale. It'll be a grid map, so it'll be a real map, but he'll forget. He'll omit a tiny detail, like a
It's because it's
just
all fake.
They-
It's all
They're
fake.
no, 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 no. They're still going by, they're so deeply immersed in
Mm.
actually playing that they're like, yeah, of course it's this. Why would it be anything
Mhm.
else? They
Yeah,
don't
yeah, yeah.
even realize.
Yeah, so this is the map. This is like the
Yeah.
last page. We'll go back and we'll look at the key, some of the key. But
Notice
yeah, you
secret
can.
doors is actually the hallways, like, doors you can listen to. It's loopy doopied,
Yeah, it
so
is
what else
loopy.
can a boy want? A growing
Yeah,
bull.
yeah. I was going to say it is in a funny way. You can almost say it's simple, inverted commas, because of that. What I mean is, it's not trying to do anything that we think of as crazy or unusual, but it is just something that at the time you're designing dungeons, you're running the game, and so you naturally want to come up with interesting environments for players to explore. You're not doing stuff which is just cool, though we're saying maybe there is a bit, maybe there's a bit too much flash or a bit too much um, funny business going on sometimes. It's not because it's not accompanied by substance. There is always substance. And I think that shows here that this is just you could use this as a map. Feel free, steal this, screenshot it, steal it, and turn it into a map for your own thing, basically, because this has, a good map that you can use.
It is still, yeah. You're still. That's, I guess, the sort of the nice part of it is like, and maybe this is a poison
Mhm.
pill because of, well, what you said earlier, that like, you know, I imagine, playing
Mm.
Slumbering Ursine Dunes, every
Mhm.
fucking week. Like, oh my
Yeah.
god, another Jack Vance on PC. Oh my god, another fucking whimsical encounter. I just want to kill goblins. Oh my god, like
Yeah.
right. But it's probably not like that. And a lot of it is actually just you're just playing D&D still. I don't know
Yeah.
if you could do this as a fucking campaign, but this is definitely just a real game.
Yeah. So the barge has been rammed 60 feet onto the beach. Very hard to unmoor. There's a 300-foot, 60-degree angle dune right next to it, basically.
Yeah.
And there's human bones all over the place. You might see ghouls on deck.
And
Has
those come
dungeon
from
rules.
like vats, right? Here, check all
Yeah.
this fucking all this stuff of like he's considered like the lighting, like there's
Hmm.
valve doors which have to be
Hmm.
have to be opened, like all that stuff. Like here, 1 in 4 doors is jammed. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Sounds
Going on,
cannot be heard
moving on.
through valve doors, so
Right.
you can't
Listen at the doors.
spam listen, hear noise.
Correct.
And there's a 1 in 4 chance of them inviting an extra encounter. We'll look at the next page just because
Yes, please.
it's just very good setup material, I think. Ghouls are primary residents.
They look like
Um,
undead, but they're
yeah,
actually some sort of vat-grown
yeah,
monster that
yeah.
was spawned
They're
by the
living extensions of the ship
barge.
itself. They believe
Yes.
themselves to be zealous adherents of a redemptive sect that cleanses the sins of the sentient living through the ritual consumption of the flesh. This is very much both. It is Vancian,
There's a
but it's
fucking Jack
also
Vance, yeah.
very Kutalikinian because it has that sort of like silly vibe. I mean, and you can see it influenced. You can see the influence running in the same way Vance influences Pratchett. You see this in Pratchett, this idea that occasionally you'll have this kind of like this bad guy who is incredibly polite and asking after your health while trying to kill you, that kind of thing. And the ghouls are a bit like that. They are.
It's also, yeah, it is like bizarre, but yeah, there's
Mm,
like this is sort of silly undertone to it. Yeah, I
yeah.
think so.
Your
Slightly
resistance
like there's
is
a
but
wink there. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Your resistance is but a symptom of meat demon corruption. The ghoul says to you is one of their ticket lines. Come here, brother, so we may liberate you from the sins of the flesh.
And then they eat
Um,
you. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, there's an encounter table which is ghouls, crawlers who are like insect swarm, and
Here,
terrified
detect
victim.
invisible creatures. Really fucked
Mm,
up. That's great.
mm,
Yeah. Oh, while
yeah,
they're in the ship. Yes.
yeah, yeah. Um, and there is a pool of reserves. Once the pool is expended, they have to spawn more, but there are rules for that. During the first visit, the pool of reserves is 6 ghouls, um, and it ramps it up and speeds up how much
and and
how many
eventually it
there are
is
in reserve.
exhausted. It's also you don't really see it so often in
Hmm.
dungeons that they actually that they take attrition seriously, that they actually
Mm,
allow you to sort of deplete its
yeah.
strength after successive forays.
Yeah, no,
What do you think about that?
I pretty much, well, yeah, I think it's good. I pretty much always do that with actual dungeons. I'll be like, there are this many of this thing in this place.
So
And so yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of repopulation of like
Mm,
rooms. I guess in smaller dungeons, I definitely have them. At some point, it makes sense that you've just like depleted it.
mm,
In very large dungeons,
yeah,
I generally do not fuck with random encounters. I just assume like, well, there's like just you've only seen such a small part of it for such a small period of time. I'm perfectly comfortable with like introducing more whatever creepy crawly bugs or
yeah.
something
It
like that.
depends what the thing is as well. If you're like, how
How
many
big it
giant
is.
centipedes, how many megalopedes? Megalopedes are fun. How many
Yeah,
megalopedes are there? Then it
yeah,
doesn't matter. Just add more if you want to. I would say this stuff
right.
like my players in my open table game are currently clearing. They've been given a castle, a ruined keep, as a reward for something, and they've been started to clear it. And there's like multiple levels. They've discovered multiple levels. They know lots of stuff's going on. But the thing is, the priest, the kind of mystical priest they've met there, is like essentially has told them, you just need to clear this a bit at a time. And in that case, you're like, okay, actually, as they clear stuff, they're less likely to see stuff in the areas they've cleared. That becomes part of their domain. They have pushed forward civilization. They've pushed forward law. And so it depends on the vibe. You don't, but and repop. Here's an example of repop that actually I have done recently in Pipes of Drummond Knoll, which is the starter adventure for Dawnwood in my home game with my family. When they went away for several days and they'd cleared out the dungeon apart from one thing, but they cleared up the rest. I was like, I'll check if anything else has turned up. I think I rolled like a D10 and I got a 1. So it's like something else has come. And so I rolled on the regional encounter table and got a particular result. And actually, it's going to be relevant in our next session because of something else that happened. But I was like, okay, so yeah, great. That has moved in. That thing is nearby or has moved in the several days. And that was a small chance. I decided it was a 1 in 10 chance. I then rolled on the table. I got the thing that I got. And I think that means that will teach a lesson that the world is living, that things change. But yeah, I don't think you always have to do that. And I think you can just, it depends on the environment and the situation. I do think there's a degree to which if the players are regularly raiding, regularly fighting, you should both escalate the defense and escalate what the bad guys are doing, but also the players should get to feel like what they're doing is having an impact. And I think clearing stuff and I ran an adventure, Twellen Farm, which is a ruined farmstead. Underneath there's what are they called? Zvarts. You hate them, Zvarts. There's like a tribe of Zvarts.
I don't hate Svarts. I don't care for Svarts.
Yeah,
right?
I didn't care for Zvarts. That's a very racial thing to say.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Some of them are good people, but yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's Zvarts underneath are hanging out, but basically the players did like I think 2 forays or something, or 3. I think they did 3 forays. Sorry, it's the third. And I think after the first one, I changed the Zvarts were more protective and defensive. And after the third one, they just left because they'd been beaten up so much. They just left and evacuated and took their stuff with them. So I decided that would be how it worked. I was like, the players get a certain number of things. They are making impact, but that means that eventually the Svarts will leave.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess in this case, it's I kind of like it because like your first foray, you're kind of rewarded to I guess the problem would be that you don't really know. Maybe after the second time, you would kind of figure out, hey, wait a minute, there's actually more of them every time. You at least get the feeling that successive forays are more hotly contested in a kind of like systematic way.
I think so, and I think that is a good lesson. It's something you learn the second time. The first time you go, you hit and run, you kill a bunch of them, take some stuff, then you leave. Like, okay, well, we'll come back later because
Owen, you can sabotage and destroy parts of the barge so they don't make gold no more. That was also really interesting. I thought.
There's similar stuff in Misty Isles of the Eld, where in the anti-chaos index, the more stuff you just break up their disgusting evil experiments, the more the more peaceful things become and the easier certain things become because you've beaten the enemy and you should be rewarded. Again, that's something which lots of adventures that are good adventures do not do enough of, and that's part of why I'm saying I think it's good that like one reason to have OOBs, which include hard numbers and replacements and whatever. T0 Journey to Homlet, which has some mini bandit dungeons as like level 1 prequels to the moat house, which I think is a good idea. Those ones are like, oh yeah, they get reinforcements at this rate. The temple sends them reinforcements once every 6 days, whatever it is, and that's something where I'm like, oh, that's helpful because as my players have depleted the bandits in an area, I know, because in one case they have actually stormed the headquarters of one group of bandits and the moat house. They've stormed 2 of the 3 bandit bases.
Right.
I know how many people will be there, both in terms, but it's dynamic. It's not static. It's dynamic because the longer they leave it, the more reinforcements arrive. I really like that module. I really like one of them has like they've captured a young silver dragon, and if you rescue the silver dragon who and return her to her parents, then obviously you get like silver dragons in the Lort Mills who are your friends and will help you. And you're like, that is such a good campaign starting reward for the epicness of D&D. Like, oh yeah, you did something. You fought some a second level bandit group as first level characters, whatever, and you got a massive reward for it. Not like a permanent, not a reward that they're always going to help you, but when your hour of need comes, or if you need some sage knowledge, you have the people on tap.
I remember the party in my B2 campaign, they spared like a young black dragon they even gave it like a really shitty hoard with copper pieces and silver to sort of like keep it going. But instead, like they subdued it, and instead of selling it, they were like, all right, let's strike a deal there, bucko. And it said, it basically said, okay, 1 favor is what you get. And they used it to to attack a certain like bandit lair that was led by one of the basically one of the former king's blades, so like a
Yeah.
really strong renegade retainer of the
Yeah.
the king. And this guy, the dragon was just used to sort of like watch the rear entrance, and when they I think they used a ring of animate plants or plant control to like these burning trees, they walked them into the front entrance, and they set caused huge problems in the cave complex. All the bandits fled out, and then like basically the dragon breath weaponed them as they tried to
Yeah.
flee
Yeah.
through the tunnel. It was a
Yeah.
classic D&D massacre. It was very well done. So that was good stuff. Yeah, I think
No, indeed.
Jeffe was there actually. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
All right.
Yeah. Well, let's look at
So
another page. Let's look.
some encounters here actually.
Yeah. Oh, we'll go back. Yeah, we'll go back to you want the encounters. Encounter table.
No, not the random
Oh
encounters.
no,
Those are fine.
yes,
The
the key,
actual,
the key.
yeah,
Yeah, like you've got the entrance tower, and it has, yeah, like weird cross-armed weapon, big ass crossbow without a string, and a 2-foot round hole opens in whatever direction the weapon is pointed. White steel racks for ammo balls run alongside with a single glass ball filled with sloshing amber liquid. Treat as fireball with 10-foot radius and 46.
So there's no one in the tower.
No, there's no one in the tower.
All right. Okay.
So it's just your toy.
Yeah, a little bit hard to get the gulls on deck, but okay, it's there if you want it. Fun. Moving on.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got some ghouls. Ghouls, by the way, of course, originally actually like Arabian
Yes.
mythology and stuff. So yeah,
Eaters
you've
of
also
the
got
Dead,
that in the background. Yeah, exactly.
for
Hence
sure.
why they want to eat you to cleanse you of sin. To be clear,
Right.
they've got long pork in the kitchen, in the drawing room, the serving drawing room. There's eld men. Oh, they're actually eld. No, sorry, they are actually eld. Slightly bulbed skulls. So this is where, at this staircase, top of the broken tower, you can see that there were people who were meant to have this place, who used to be here but are not here now. There's a spawn room. Destroying all 48 sacks decimates the ghoul pool for 48 hours, after which time the ship regrows the sacks.
But that's awesome though that you can like kind of like interact in a way so as to alter the. It's almost like the entire dungeon is like it's like your opponent. You can kind of like figure out how it works and how to disable it. That's great stuff.
Yeah, so there's internal organs 7 and 8. 7. Yeah, just say if you destroy all of 7 and 8, all organic powered functions of the barge end.
Right.
So you can just ruin it as a kind of disgusting eld thing, and it's not necessarily hard to do that. You could just walk into these rooms, right? Obviously, the ghouls will investigate if you're destroying stuff, but you can just walk into these. These are fairly high up in the in terms of they're fairly close to the entrance. You're not actually. This is not meant to be inherently hard to do. It's meant to be probably hard to work out what's going on. I think that's the big thing, because the ghouls are all going to attack you when you try to do it.
Yeah,
and
you don't know that the ship is throwing them.
Yeah, exactly. So
I
you
was
won't
going to
necessarily
say,
connect.
a point of interest. You may not have noticed, but I did. All of the treasure is OSR boutique style, customized. And I believe it was the writing of Patrick Stewart that eventually got me to hate that style. But again, this is one where again, we were in full sort of like, what do you call that, cultural flux, where it's like it doesn't have to be boring treasure, it can just be your imagination, so everybody just you have this outpouring.
So I would say
you
say that, but of course, note what he's actually does. You say it's all boutique, but the examples are an alabaster statuette of a triple-headed goddess, 500 GP.
Yes. Yeah, it's all like a little
a foot wide copper dimensional gate ring, which activates interdimensional gates like those found in room 18. So it is a gigantic, impractically large copper ring. But that's actually that has a value, but can also be used to do something else cool. There's a stack of silver crescent coins, 60 GP value to antiquarians. Magic
even
user
the
scrolls.
Coins are like custom made. Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Odd steel, strangely fluted cooking implements have value. And then there's grey lotus powder, which is basically a sleep powder.
Yeah, but just as a general that's kind of like, again, I also get that if it's a short atmospheric jaunt and you kind of want to convey mood, then okay, I'm going to customize all of my treasure. But I mean, at some point, people are going to get, if it's too long or over a long period of time, at some point, people are like, yeah, okay. It's just, I mean, in this case, these are all very short sentences and it's not like so excessive,
So
right?
this is what I'm actually saying, is that the particular examples, you can be like, oh, it's all custom. You're like, yeah, but it's statuette 500 GP, and that you can add a weight if you're using weight. There's like cooking implements that are, you know, worth
Yeah, but
200.
even with that, if if you're like, okay, in this room you see like what is it, it's a human body, and they put like whatever, they put like acupuncture needles cover, all of his pressure points, and every needle is made of red ruby, and they're just gonna go, oh, okay, cool, pop that shit out, dump it in the
No, but
bag,
that's
move
not a
on. Yeah,
problem. I think that
right.
I think I
If you do
don't
that every
disagree.
time, right? Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's the thing, is if it's every room, it's also, that's about game time, isn't it? The idea
yeah.
that if you're like the entire game where you're trying to play a game, not listen to a story, has a DM who's like, and let me describe for 5 minutes all the cool things in the room.
All the cool
That's one thing.
things.
If it's
Yeah,
that the
exactly.
DM says, they say what is in the room, and you say there's this, there's this, there's this, those are in a sense always going to be customized, because it's always going to be a different room. They go into a room, you say there's a 4-poster bed with curtains that are slightly mildewed and blah, and there's a desk with a jewelry case. This is actually a room that I was running just the other day.
Sure.
I think that's it. Doesn't need to take ages, and you should say it as matter of factly as possible in a way, and it is okay if your players record it as 10 ruby gigantic like acupuncture needles.
Right, or
That's fine.
something like that. I'm just trying
But
to say that, like, I feel there's a sort of, and it's going to differ from group to group. There's like sort of max bandwidth for like even custom treasure. I'm
to
not
some degree,
knocking. I'm not knocking this one
I don't
for
find this too
now, but
obnoxious. I don't find it too bad.
no,
I
I
think
don't
is
find it
basically the point.
obnoxious
I think
either. I'm just saying that, like, over an entire campaign, right?
you
It's
might
fine
begin
to
to
go like,
think,
listen, not everything is like ooh ah. Sometimes it's a strong box. There's an ice lock on it. There's a poison needle trap in there. You pop it open, gold. Gotcha.
there's
Moving
100
on.
gold.
It's 100
Yeah. No, I agree.
copper
I
tin
agree.
pieces. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
10 pieces.
four-armed white ape, and we already skipped it. There was a
Yeah.
two-headed vulture zombie in there as well. This is pretty wacky.
Yeah. Previous page. So there's
It's
also
Donkey Kong
a
style.
ghoul. There is also a
This is a
ghoul
Donkey Kong
wielding the
reference. It's throwing
Terminax.
barrels.
The Terminax.
Sorry about
The
that,
Terminax
please.
as battle axe +1 +3 versus giant insects.
Yes.
So you also have like special ghouls who have more hit points and magic weapons.
Right.
The gate room, by the way, has 3 circles with empty indentations for copper gate rings, and the gates were to Tecumel, Sigil, and the Summer Country. So fairy, I guess. Just to say that was, which is fun. I like gates. I like the Nightwolf Inn. I'm a big fan of giving people gates. I got a party to use a gate to go into what's it called? Wishery, Ben Lawrence's Wishery. So,
but Owen, here, observe, you think it's a Barsoom reference, but within the Barsoom reference, there's a Donkey Kong reference.
And a King Kong reference, and and within the Donkey Kong reference, there's implicitly,
he's throwing the barrels.
He is, boutique session wears thin even over a long game session, not just a campaign, Becca says. I mean, well, I guess that's what you're saying, isn't it? Or it can do.
Yeah, I think, like, for one, but at some point people are gonna be like, oh, okay, I've had enough wonders for a while. You got to give them some, like a break.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there is the Donkey Kong Barsoom 4-armed white ape. It's not clear where this guy has come from. I don't think. Oh, is that he's that? So no, is that he's the slave of one of the Eld commander,
right?
Or an Eld commander. He's the sole survivor, Major Jom of the this is the next page of the recent Eld expeditions, and he's puzzling how to reactivate the vessel. He will. He's invariably hostile to the party unless they're in active alliance with the local Eld and can prove it. So to be fair, if you can make alliance with Sir Eld, that could give you some basis for talking to this guy, because you could be like, we have this marker of being friends of the Eld, and he's like, oh, okay. So to be fair, talking to Sir Eld could give you a faction way into being friends with the guy with the giant ape.
Correct.
with Donkey Kong. So it does matter. Yeah.
I don't know, it's just so cool that there's an encounter where a giant, like, four-armed white ape is just chucking fucking barrels down a
He's
stairway.
rolling barrels down,
It's
which
amazing.
you have to do. He has the variable d6 under stat system, so 4d6 under dex. I feel like ASC has something similar. This was not an unpopular methodology at the time, was it? The idea, like, you can test abilities. If you want to test an ability rather than use a save or something like that, you can vary the number of dice being used rather than, whatever, 3d6. So it's slightly challenging because it's 4d6 under dex. If your dex is 18, you should normally pass it. But if your dex is 11, you'll normally fail it, for instance. And which is fun.
Even I guess some people would say, like, what kind of bullshit is that? Just roll a normal saving throw. But I think even Gygax was known to occasionally pull something like this. Where
I think understanding there are two reasons you do this that I would suggest. I suggest two reasons you do this. One is that you attack everything on the character sheet, right? You attack everything on the character sheet. Nothing is a dump stat. Someone has to represent the party, even if you're not role-playing with funny voices, and so you really want at least one person with okay charisma, but anyone who wants to have retainers needs to have some sort of charisma that's not like 5. Int, I use int as a secret check to do with illusions. So int as a stat matters for everyone, even if they're not using it for extra NWPs or spell qualification for level or whatever else.
Sure.
Whatever. So you attack everything on the character sheet. You make every stat matter and everything matter. That's one. And two, the variation keeps players thinking and being like, oh, what do I do next? Oh, okay, that's a new challenge. I didn't know that would happen. But it's not beyond the rules of the game. It's not this crazy thing where you've been like, and now everyone has to improvise an actual song to the tune of Pina Colada.
That's fine. Okay, but at percentage, right? I was going to ask if you have somebody, you have to roll 46 under your under your dex, but he has a ring of protection when you throw the barrels at him. What do you give him a bonus from the?
Presumably that I think that'd be perfectly reasonable. Is if they say so, I would get a ring of protection save. I think if a player said that, I mean, and this is the thing, as the DM, if you're reading the module, you can decide beforehand. Is that a ring of protection +1 would give you a +1 to dex for the stat for the test, but a +1 chainmail would not.
No.
Yeah.
Correct.
And that's something which then rewards different magic item use as well. It means that the rogue continues to be more likely to dodge, or the rogue or someone with a cloak of protection, as an example as well. You're like, yeah, great. Cloak of protection +2 applies to AC and to this, whereas it wouldn't. Of course, that's actually the case with armor and rings and cloaks anyway. That is actually the way the rules already work, but for saves. Yeah, so you're applying the same logic, and it makes sense. It has verite, doesn't it? It's a bit of like, oh yeah, actually, this is just what would happen in the world. Of course, having a cloak of protection is better for dodging Donkey Kong than having chainmail.
Yeah, of course. No, I was just curious to see, like, whether your mind considered the problem in the same way as I did, and I guess it did. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I think that's good. What I'd say is, I would say I don't remember actually about the tower. There are 2 usages up to page 28. There are 2 usages of this mechanic in the entire module so far. And so I think it's not an obnoxious, because it's actually because there are 2 tests in the same room. Because one is a way of testing if you can translate the Eldish, that's the kind of broken Eldish instructions on the control helmet, is you test int. 5d6 under int. Only 1 attempt per level can be made. But of course, if you do activate it, and you can dig it out, you can use it, and it can become your ship that you go around the dunes in, and that's really cool. That is a really fun a bit of treasure that if you put lots of effort and thought into it and work out what you need. Can we get someone really intelligent? Can we hire a sage? Not a sage, but like, can we hire someone really clever from Marlinko for a massive paycheck to come and activate it for us? Can we do this? Can we do that? It's something which isn't instantly solvable, probably, and that's fun. But it gives you a really cool reward, which is world-changing in a good way. There are also, by the way, there are plutonium bars or uranium, like I think they're plutonium bars, Del Silver bars, 1200 GP to an alchemist, that are warm to the touch. which give you a virulent skin cancer. So this does actually give you rad sickness rules, where the earlier example didn't. But there are, that's fun. Players tend to, I think,
like that too.
Yeah, my players in ASE did conclude very rapidly that the stick rock, the green glowing rock that they found in amongst all the Mokhtar layer that's full of Mokhtars who were sick, they're like, this is radioactive. So the robot player, the player who's playing a robot, had put it in their chest cavity, which was like lead. Like lead and steel. And I was like, that's so clever, isn't it? They've come up with a solution where someone will transport it who won't be hurt by it.
There you go.
It's a fun module. It's a fun game, but of course that's the thing. You're like, and there's a degree that, by the way, when we sniff, when we CAG people, we kind of classic players. I'm not saying people do, but you can always think, oh, they're going to sniff about all this stuff. No, that's fun. It was good. The players come up with a solution. You don't need to complicate it. You can be like, that's fun. Well done for coming up with a solution. That sort of thing. Of course, you can imagine it's in the mindset of the designer because he has robots in his world. So why wouldn't robots be able to safely carry the sick rock? Basically.
Oh yeah, no, that's just that's clever play. That's fine.
Of course, here there's no robot here, but again, it's interesting because it's warm to the touch. The players will know, and you can then imagine players being like, "Is the lining lead? Is the lining lead?" You say, "Well, there's a dull silver metal." It's a dull silver metal inlay in the box, and there's these 6 dull silver bars. They are warm as you put your hand toward them.
Yeah,
that's the description, isn't it?
I might even just say, well, again, the inside seems to be lined with lead, and then there's these 6 heavy dull silver bars, and then you see if they pick them up. But yeah, treasure with like a complication is totally fine and cool.
Oh, it's legitimate. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. So I think the Golden Barge is a really fun adventure locale. It's not absolutely enormous. 25 rooms. As we said, the map is loopy-doopy enough to give players options for what they do. They can walk around and try different things. They can avoid something they've done before. They can do X, Y, and Z. And I think that's good. It's nothing in terms of as a dungeon. It's nothing remarkable because it's not massive. It doesn't have particularly obvious famous challenges other than specifically you have that super memorable ape. Yeah, there's the 2-headed vulture is decent as well. But it has a bit of style with the ghouls. It has a lot of functionality. The treasure is okay, probably without being incredible. I think it's fair to say. Remember that like the top gold piece treasure is 1200 GP. For a 2nd or 3rd level party, for the top treasure in a 25 room dungeon, that's not massive, is it? Really?
It's not. That's also probably an OSR problem that the treasure's a bit scarce. But I haven't tallied everything. It may come up to a tidy sum.
There's a 300 GP. There's a 200 GP. There's 1,000 GP for the dimensional gate ring. So it's interesting. The dimensional gate ring, which is is a useful item, is also a treasure item. So do you go and sell it to get the value for this gigantic copper ring? There's a statuette for 500. There's silver flatware for 150. It is under treasured. It's going to come out to a few thousand. It has a couple of decent magic items and a couple of decent options, but it's nothing.
It's a little on the sparse side. It was nothing. It's not insultingly low. I would be inclined to give it a pass.
Should we skip the glittering tower? We've kind of mentioned it, but there is another dungeon. But we should go forward to look at some of the appendices, I think, shouldn't we?
For I think for time purposes that is wise. I don't know if you guys are. Do you guys have have the clocks been moved where you guys are at?
Yeah, they have. As it is, it'll be the same. Have they been moved for you or?
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, in that case, we're in the same position as we normally
are. Excellent.
Chaos Event Index. The Dunes is a mythical wilderness infused with the weird, a fever dream logic that defies human ordering, etc. So move the index up and down and see the effect it has on the environment. I think there is a list. I will actually skip forward to this quickly just to, we can look at this. I think that's fun. Here's the list at the bottom of the page here. If you kill Medved, that adds 12 to the chaos because Medved, though he is technically himself chaotic, he is obviously a force of relative order and decency in the dunes. If you kill the old Smith or Andre, it goes up by 6. And if you kill the old leader, it goes up by 2. But destroying the old machinery reduces it. Casting high-level spells increases it. Spending a week away or sleeping the night in the dunes, i.e. civilizing it by being there, reduces it. So you can gradually increase or reduce the index, basically. And the index starts at 1. And if the index goes up a lot, events start to happen. Like you roll to see what happens. There are mechanics back here. So at -2 or lower, the weird ebbs. Wandering monster checks become 1 a day. Normal animals drift in a scene. Normal seasonal conditions change the mild weather. But as it goes up, when it gets to 3 to 5, it starts at 1, remember. You roll every day for an event, and there is a 9 in 12 chance of an event, which could be blood rain, a phantom pylon, double lunar eclipse, a comet, and it gets worse as you go up. Like the kinds of events get worse, the things that happen get crazier.
Oh yeah.
Until eventually at 15, the sun appears to be in perpetual eclipse. Neither sun rises nor sets. Roll on the Chaos Rampant, which is the previous table, twice a day. If a spell is cast, either it flip a coin, heads it's doubled, tails it doesn't work.
I'm not sure if I'm a big fan of like all of the big sweeping events without any sort of like mechanical follow up. Like what is it? There was one like a spaceship crashes or something like that. Like
Yeah.
I get what it's trying to do. Maybe I should take that as I should be excited. Wow.
So that under the crap gets weird table, you can have faction skirmishes. Eld bubble ships arrive. So new Eld are arriving, and they could strafe you with fire tubes.
This is
random
fine.
objects. Yeah. Tesseract opens.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that's
shit got weird is all right.
Yeah. And then Kugelberg, and then Chaos Rampant is Kugelberg is attacked. Remember, Kugelberg is civilization at the head of the dunes, where the old Smith is. And
probably going to be the base of
exactly.
The party's probably going to stay there, naturally speaking.
Yeah.
Although bizarrely, spending a night in the dunes lowers the.
Well, because you are normal, so if you come into it and you start staying there, if you leave it, stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's interesting. Both staying inside the dunes lowers it because you make it boring, and leaving the dunes lowers it because it returns to equilibrium. Yeah. There's a natural equilibrium that you are the ones disturbing. So ironically, both and help. And I think that makes sense. Equally, killing Andre, who is evil, chaotic evil, does increase the chaos index, maybe because he is less otherworldly. He is just a wereshark guy, whereas killing the Eld leader is much less damaging because the Eld, despite technically being lawful evil, chaos index is misleading here. It doesn't mean towards chaos. What it means is towards dimensional change, towards kind of other worlds entering in. And the Eld are otherworldly. They are the outsiders.
Otherworldly,
yeah, they are the outsiders.
Or they have the yeah. It's something like that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think understanding it's more like it's where you see it's more cock being Lovecraftian, isn't it? As in if you think about the inspirations here, the idea that there may be supernature in the world or above the world, but supernature beyond the world is worse. Think about Mountains of Madness. I found supernature. I'm terrified by it. No, wait, the supernature is more like me. The supernature is scared. There are things worse than the supernature. And I think that's like here is that Andre is natural or and Medved is a godling, but that's part of the worldly order, whereas the Eld are from beyond the worldly order and pervert it.
It's not a bad way of thinking of thinking about it. Yeah, I'm not sure how I guess how coherent it is when I look at it, but I'll buy it for sure.
I know I do agree, by the way. I'm not saying I would agree with your critique, like otherworldly vessel marooned, a strange metal vessel either beats itself
that
on the
sort of stuff.
That's a war of the worlds kind of reference, isn't it? But there's no mechanics for it. There's no follow up. Or a godling tourist appears.
Yeah, I get maybe I should be getting excited because like that should fire my imagination. But
it seems like work. It seems like work.
Seems like a lot of work, buddy.
I know what you mean. Yeah. And the same with not quite the same, but similar with Godling Tourist or with the Veil Between the World Rips, which is that Veil Between the World Rips, you get to replace a hex or a point with something from a different world.
That's okay. I like that.
Yeah,
That's
but you still have to put the work into it. What I mean is this stuff requires more DM work to be like, oh, I need to get a Godling who's appearing whilst on holiday, or I need to
be
pick
fair,
something from. Yeah,
you'd have to get it at 14, which is not easy.
Yeah. No, I indeed. Which
Although
is
5 or more minor faction players, I think. Oh, it is. Oh, that just you get that.
this is
once.
10 to 14, and you're on a D12. So you could definitely start at 1.
Yeah.
So to be fair, you start at 1, and if you're second level, you're not casting third level higher spells. So the ones you're going to do are kill 5 or more minor factions +1, and enter the barge, glittering tower, Slothrog cairn, or magic field +2. Those are the ones you're doing fairly regularly at lower levels. As you are maybe playing for a while through a campaign, and you're like, now let's kill Andre, and you've got a 5th level. That's one thing is once you're slightly over leveled at the top, even if you're still the right average level, you have a 5th level magic user. Then at that point, you could well be doing stuff where you're adding like 7 or 10 to the index. So yeah, it's also interesting, of course, the players might prefer to cause chaos because they realize them wandering around exploring and hiding and then sleeping in the dunes is destroying the magic of the dunes, like this kind of weird like Pom Poko-esque destroying the wild.
I'm very skeptical that they'll pick up on this sort of stuff, or that they'll figure out the causal connection there. That's one where I think maybe the Gulls is one where they would figure it out. The other one probably not. I'm gonna say it's just a way to make it appear a little bit more like maybe subconsciously or something like that. They it's a way to sort of generate events while they're playing around to sort of channel.
There is also a default amount that between sessions you roll 1d4 -1 to see the organic rise. So it will rise by 0 to 3 every time, every session. So there is an organic rise. So there's a degree to which it inevitably pushes on. So to be fair, what I was saying there, because the factions are also raising chaos, there's a degree to which you as the players may realize things are getting weirder, look into it, go to Marlinko, talk to the old smith won't help you because he'll say there aren't any dunes there, of course. You need to go to Marlinko basically, or you need to talk to Aldrich the hermit, maybe he might be able to help, or even Medved, and they say this is what's happening, and then you might start doing things that intentionally reduce the amount of danger, like the amount of chaos.
It's a bit difficult to see, of course, if we don't we don't have Medved's tower as a companion piece, so we don't there's a key part of this missing. Why destroying the Eld machinery will will make everything quiet down. But
that's one
what
thing.
I understood, this was a very go ahead.
Yeah, I was good. No, I agree. Yes, as in, that's one thing is the best thing you can do to reduce chaos is to destroy old machinery, which is it's in the second adventure site. You are right.
Regardless, let's move on. We might have a few more interesting points. We definitely want to show off the bear class. They also have a weird mechanical dwarf class, I think, or cave dwarf, sort of class.
They have two. They have cave dwarves, who are just normal dwarves. There are also there is it in this or is it in a different supplement from this from him that the
mountebank or something like that, or the robot dwarf that was in Fever Dreaming Marlinko.
That's in Marlinko.
I recall for sure.
The mountebank certainly is. The mountebank is obviously a class. It's a human race class where you are like a kind of crappy illusionist fraudster, basically.
Hell yeah.
Now, I do like Marlinko. I actually think Marlinko, by the way, is an odd one where it is good, and it is a good city and it's a good settlement, but it's probably not quite as good as some people say compared to other other Hill Canton stuff, because it has two really strange adventure sites that are probably not representative of everything you're going to do in a city. One is like basically a vampire's lair, and the other is some sort of weird, like demented nunnery. And I think it's probably not quite as representative as some other things might be of stuff you do in a city. But it has so much other good stuff. I like Marlinko a lot. I think it's good.
I never looked beyond Marlinko. So there was Slumbering Ursine Dunes, and then there was Fever Dreaming Malenko, and I never checked out Misty Eyes of the Eld and What Ho Frog Demons. I guess maybe I should even go back. I'm a little bit jealous of you having them in hardcover. They
Hard
I
copy, yeah.
recall a lot of it is like it is kind of good. It's obviously from like a different. It's almost like a different era now. Jesus, we're old.
Oh no, I think
But
that's not an
thinking
unfair
back to
thing
it
to say.
is
Yeah,
yeah
I think that's
no.
fair. Yeah,
But
which is
thinking
weird because
back
you're
to
like,
it,
oh well,
it's
surely
really
10 years
nice.
ago, 10
Yeah.
years ago, it can't be that different. But it's something where, like, I think there was, in terms of when you think about artistic movements, there is a
Right.
degree to which things can change rapidly, and I think the OSR being incredibly fractious. We joke about Bear Jam at the top of this, and I think you're like things are so fractious, and people are just getting on with different things. But actually, it doesn't mean the tradition that has gone before is worthless. Tradition means to pass on, and this stuff is passed on, and like it's part of that tradition, whatever tradition we're in. And I think it is
Yeah.
really good and really creative. And like I say, it's other stuff. We talked to, I think we might have said we talked about Jeff Ryance as well. There's lots of creators from the late noughts into the mid tens who probably get very little attention now because of the cult of the new, who are more worth reading than. It's the same, by the way, with any field of
Absolutely.
art. The same with fiction, the same with anything. Go and read old stuff, because old stuff that has a good reputation is more likely to be good than new stuff that has a good reputation. Is a general principle.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah,
And this was also
yeah.
before the I mean, you had an earlier wave of commercialization in the OSR, but then it was more like the I guess the kind of like schemes that you would see in maybe a Dukes of Hazzard kind of like small town, like these tiny petty grifts, and
Yeah.
Mike Nistul running a Kickstarter and not delivering on it, right? But
Yeah.
it's nothing compared to the sort of I guess the sort of the commercialization, the big OSE. You know, there is a degree of that sort of like more artistic, you know, artistic stuff that you don't see. Well, you see less of nowadays. And you know, Chris Kutalik. I mean, Hydra Cooperative is definitely legally that's a publisher, but I don't think he needs Slumbering Ursine Dunes, or he can't eat you know, that
Yeah.
evening,
No, exactly. I
right?
think that
It
is
has
one thing. Is
feels
the
more
game
sincere, done
changed.
out of
No,
love,
sorry.
that sort of stuff. Yeah.
What is it?
Go
The
ahead.
game ain't changed. Just got more fierce. Definitely got more fierce. Like it's a different thing, and people's stake in it has not necessarily changed in terms of quality, but certainly has for some people in terms of quantity. But yeah, no, I think this is definitely a really valuable thing. Look, I should say, by the way, at Misty Isles of the Eld, you're fighting these David Bowie elves, and the more of their stuff you destroy, the more the islands return to normal. So it's an anti-chaos index. It's essentially your war against the chaos. And the fourth one, What Ho Frog Demon, has a bunch of good stuff in it. It has 2 adventure sites. One is a Saturday night special, White Plume Mountain. It's a frog demon temple full of nasty traps and weird stuff. And the other is an adventure, Beats for the Beat God, where like a beat godling is taking over a village in a
Oh
body
my
snatchers kind of
God.
thing. Beats for the Beat God, Prince. We've reached Prince's whimsy limit.
My
Beats for
whimsy
the beat.
limit. No, well, I mean, the level range is, of course, going to be
Yeah.
1 to 3. You know, 3 to 6, maybe the highest one. This is, but
Yeah.
yeah, this is all boutique
Yeah, well, I was going to say,
store.
even
BX.
Dolman would, of course, Dolman's a weird one in that the high level bad guys are actually high level bad guys. I should say, like, genuinely, you're like, oh no, he's got like 18 HD.
Oh yeah.
And but the adventures, and this is a compliment still, the adventures actually have a level range that goes from like 1 to 6, which is not actually even normal for most OSR settings. They actually are like, oh, there's some starter adventures and there's some mid-level adventures, and you're like, oh yeah, that's actually quite good, because for most people that is going to be enough, isn't it? That's going to be enough stuff to do. But it is, I should say, it also does have these high-level bad guys with lots of magic and lots of guys who help them. So that is more high level, but I think even though Dolmenwood itself is more complicated than OSE, it's still going to struggle at the fringes to really get to that point of being able to play that game, I think it's
Absolutely.
fair to say. But yeah, so yeah, what else do you want to look at in Slumbering Ursine Dunes before we finish? We've got monsters in Appendix A.
Give us well, we already checked out some monsters, but like give us a good one. And then I wanted to show off the bear.
There are, by the way, there are war ocelots, which is fun. We're not going to look at the war ocelots, I think, but I like the Warlock.
I think so. I think they have a very illustrious sort of reputation. Yeah, it really goes all out with the sort of the Vancian flavor text, and it's actually
Yeah.
it's kind of
Here's the were
cool.
shark. I think the were shark is just this is just a good monster, isn't it? Like a big nasty monster at 6'8". This is your high. This is Andre, but this is your high level guy. 3 attacks and 668 hit points, AC
Despite
3.
their bestial
Yeah.
rapaciousness, were sharks are drawn to soft luxuries. Thereof our treasure hoards inevitably take the form of soft, exquisitely woven silks, velvet cushions, choice wines, fine silver dinnerware, and the like, as opposed to straight cash.
They can turn you
Lovely,
into a were shark. There's also the lesser were shark remora, who are
Remoras,
literally like another
literal hangers on.
And they are cleaning the bodies of the were sharks or tidying up with dust brushes and brooms when their betters are absent. It's flavorful. It's disgusting. As you said, the fact that actually a lot of the villains and creatures here are just bad. But even if you're dealing with them, and that's good, you should deal with them because there's advantage to that. You don't have to be like, oh yeah, Andre is actually a tortured soul, and maybe he has a point. You're like, no, he is a disgusting monster. The Vodnik, who actually is worth talking to, is also a disgusting monster. He's just a disgusting monster with evil superhuman potions.
Yeah, there's no hint of like of that sort. So as I said before, it really is. It is D&D. The Zombastodon. Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. Tusk Trample. Sorry, if you want to talk about Vancian prose, they're colloquially called zombastodons by feckless wags who care not for life and limb. The Mammut Morbidium is a reanimated spirit demon of the more mundane mastodon. It is said that Costello the Deathless had a hand in the base sorcery that first revivified the lifeless corpses of the woolly elephantine pack animals, so very much beloved by the northern rump states of the Hyperboreans in the long glacial age that ended their civilization.
Jesus, the purple prose is just like, wonderful. Yeah, of course, it's a little self-indulgent, but
one thing is, if some of it is useful, like talking about the treasure that were sharks have, that's useful. Talking about actions like the remora were sharks do, the actions they'll be doing, that's useful. And the zombastodons, mangy hide splitting, exposed rib bones, demonic red glows to their eyes. Players want to hear this because past their engagement with the game is
no, it's one or two carefully crafted little like flavorful introduction, and then bam, down to brass tacks. And you notice also that the I was going to say, well, he doesn't maintain the sort of the Vancian cadence when he's going into game mechanics. Although that may have been no, that's actually not it's not premature. That is true. So in the beginning, when he's still talking about shattered shells of their former robustness, then he's still in flavor text mode. But when it becomes time to describe the capabilities, matter of fact, bam.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go and look at the war bear. The Nurian soldier bear stands alongside the Ostrovan pikeman, Cossack, horse archer, and Amazon sword and buckler as one of the most renowned examples of soldiery in the world of Zem.
The world of Zem.
Lesser known are the wayward bears who strike out on their own in the world in search of quantitatively measured experience. The proud bearers of the appellation war bear.
They're like
they wear no armor. They can wear a helmet.
A cross between a Swiss guard and a bear. Yeah.
Well, I guess he's a bear condottieri, isn't he? He's off seeking his fortune. And he loves pole arms, has a +1 to hit and damage when employing it, on top of anything else based on his, because he fights as a fighter, so he is gaining THAC 1 every level, but he also has +1 to hit and damage. He's specialized. They put filthy weapon specialization in here for this war bear. They do have a sicken and lose 3 points of wisdom if they have been out of sight of such a weapon for longer than a day.
Oh my! Oh, so he's like sort of what do you call that? He's like bound to his obsessively bound to his pole arm. That's also cool.
Base AC 6, which improves every at a kind of not completely static rate at level 3 and at level 4, and then at level 7. And you can you can wear a helmet and you can use magical devices, but must be able to fit around the large sized limbs of the warbear. So basically, you can use Ring of Protection, but it has to be massive, as an example. So yeah, basically they are very. It reminds me a tiny bit. It's nowhere near as harsh, but it reminds me a bit of something called PC1. Oh, I don't even remember what it's called. There was a whole series. PC3 was called Top Ballista, but these were for basic. These were for Encyclopedia. And they were like player creature. So the idea was you'd play with, if you wanted to play in this kind of fairyish world, you could play a Triamp, but you needed 20,000 XP to level up, that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. That was quite a product. Yeah, there were like 4 of them.
And they're quite fun. They're not completely functional. This isn't like that, and it's not as harsh as the Triant list. But there is a thing where the idea, a bit like multi-class demis at first level, having a cleric assassin or cleric fighter or whatever for a half orc. A cleric fighter is the one I'm thinking of course, actually. But that is such a good multi-class combo, and so the level cap is simply you get a low level reward for having a really tough extra guy, but he needs more XP to level up, and he will start to get level capped on his cleric side. Using first edition level caps. That's actually all quite good design and good balance. It's not unreasonable at all. And I think there's a similar thing here without the level cap, of the idea that, there's a slightly higher XP requirement and there are weird conditions on the class, but at first level and second level, when you're doing this adventure, he is going to be such a useful extra character. Like, he is giving you such a swing of he gives you +2 hit die, +2 HP at first level, and he has a good armor class, and he has a good weapon, he is just going to be useful for you. And I think that's kind of good design, isn't it? I would say with class design, with race design, is the idea that there are trade-offs for the bang it gives to the players versus the generic humans. The non-human classes should have these big advantages and these big restrictions and limitations that eventually pay off the advantages, but in the short term tend to be really worth it for the players.
Yeah, I mean it's just cute, right? It's what do you call that? I mean, I don't think you'll I mean, I guess if you allow them, they're actually very good. So
they are. That's kind of what I mean. If you're playing in this setting, this setting,
you're gonna have a few of them,
but that's probably good if you're playing a slightly more anarchic, wacky, picaresque, basic style game. Lablord Advanced, in fact, technically, because he does use AEC.
Right. You also wouldn't be able to have like you can't. Can you use any weapon, or is it only the polearm? Only
he can use any weapon, but he has to have a polearm. He can't use armor, so he could use a shield and a sword, but he'd have to also be carrying his polearm, practically. So I think, and also he gets a bonus to his polearm. Remember,
it's not really. +1. Oh, they fight as fighters.
Fighters. They save as dwarves. They fight as fighters. They are tough, and they can fight. But they require more experience, at increasing disproportion over time, and they can't use armor, and they're going to struggle to use magical protection.
Right.
Size.
Oh yeah, custom made.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, seems. D10 hit dice too, and then plus. Oh wait, they have D8 plus. That's weird. They have D8 +2 in one case and D10 in the top.
I would assume that I'd have to check all the other examples of race classes in his books, but I would assume it is 10. I assume it's meant to be the 10.
Oh yeah.
He is fighter hit die, 1d10 +2, AC 6, but hard to improve. Saves as a dwarf, so good at saving, which is good. And he's going to prime requisite is con and has to have minimum 14 con. So you're talking about someone who is meant to be tanky and tough. And has some advantages to leveling, but is takes more XP.
Versatile is what I get. I don't even know if I would say like that you can use other weaponry. Maybe it doesn't really matter.
It would not be unreasonable to say you have to use spears or polearms. You can say that, can you?
Only,
Yeah. I
Yeah,
agree.
why not?
Becca does say, "Why would you play anything other than a bear?" Yeah, I mean, you might want to play a Robo Dwarf, as we're saying. He's not in
Oh
this
my
book, so we
god.
won't talk
Is
about
there
him.
another class in this
There's
book or no?
the cave dwarf is like a wild dwarf who is based on a feral dwarf class co-created with Scott Mobley,
Nah, we're
who
skipping
has
that one. That's
he
no
has
good.
underground stuff. They don't like art. They don't like new weapons, but they can forage for food and water, so they're survivalists.
Sorry, you're gonna have to top a
Yeah.
war bear. Like, you
Yeah,
cannot, we
yeah,
can't
yeah.
do
I know.
that.
I agree. I
And
think
he made
what
a
is cool.
war
I
bear
always like this.
song.
This is
That's
something
great.
I have
Yeah.
used in other games. I've literally used the list here and in Marlinko in other games. Pre-gen hirelings. Down at the hiring hall of the Guild of Condottieri, Link Boys, Roustabouts, and Stevedores, a number of fine accredited hirelings in good standing await your contract. Remember, no one loves a scab. Chris Kutalik, remember, is a union organizer.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
in Marlinko, there are mechanics for what happens if you piss off the guild.
Oh yes, it's
And eventually
perfect.
they try to murder you, which I feel like is probably his own frustrations getting out. Panzerbjorn, indeed. Becca does say all his dwarves are feral anyway. So yeah, there are two tables. One is men at arms for hire. One is other hirelings. And so the men at arms, Arsus of Ultima, bare hat, spear, no tongue, smells like ass. Hedviga the Harridan, 4 HP, half plate, battle axe, Erolotus helmet, hates your hat. Old Blue, battle axe. I've had Old Blue in a party. Somewhat hulking, bearish man at arms seeks the knowledge of man's red flower.
That's a reference right there.
Yep.
But also
Yeah.
just the idea of like, yeah, what is it? Cracky the Hooded, and then like half plate pike and nunchucks, like just like these fucked up weapon combinations, and
Yeah.
Alardicus. Yeah, it's okay. It's
Sam Light
beautiful.
helmet, trident. I like Sam Light helmet, trident, net, and dagger. Greases his hair with pig fat, pretends to be gladiator. Obviously, this is meant to be stuff that you're dealing with these guys every day. So there's a little characteristic, isn't there, that's funny, but they're still
Oh
perfectly
my
usable. They're
god,
very
it's a
simple.
second mad
Other
monks.
hirelings. Steve Woodall,
Oh.
teamster with a Kopesh, claims to be descendant of the Hyperbrain space god Oneg the Prober. Will bring wagon team for an additional 30 gold piece surcharge. Krakus, HP 3, dog's body and professional sycophant. Dagger is lying to you now. Putra, HP 2, Huri / Torchbearer. Oh no, Jeff is going to be like, ooh, best product ever. Dark Soulful Eyes will not sleep with you. Lantern, Garrot, and Dagger. Yeah.
These are all
Man Beast Porter.
Yeah,
it's fun.
these
They're
are all
fun.
pretty good. Yeah.
Lanky, blonde-headed, freakishly honest manservant and amateur scald. Good voice with the tendency extemporize. He's like your blonde cousin, isn't he?
Oh boy, these are all again. It's also like boutique style, right? But to be fair, like it's just one memorable character trait is really all you need for these fucking.
Oh yeah, no.
hirelings.
And
This is
by the way,
cute,
that
yeah.
happens anyway to some degree. This is not exactly how I do starting hirelings. If someone goes and says, "Can I hire 2 light footmen to guard my camp?" But the point is, it does happen over time. Like this naturally develops in a game. And he's kind of giving you, maybe it's cheating to give you that up front. I'm not saying it is. I'm just kind of, you could see it like that. But I think the point is, it's fun. As it's what happens anywhere, players will interact with that and enjoy it and laugh and be like, "I'll remember that guy." And it would invest them more in their hirelings as well.
Oh yeah,
They were like, it's fun to deal with hirelings. They are good fun. I enjoy playing with them, rather than like, okay, this is just what it is. As I say, one of my parties, there's a henchman. He's 2nd level, heading to 3rd, I think, who started as a light footman who did like 6 damage to kill a gel cube, as in was in a fight. In like, because I was like, my rule is combat hirelings will generally, unless they're part of a company, in which case they are there for war, they will, if they're combat hirelings but not hench, they will go to the 1st level of the dungeon and not below. And so he was in the 1st level of the dungeon, but then
reasonable.
someone walked into a gel cube trap. The gel cube followed them. This was further down in a sub level. They came up and he killed it. And I was like, he is now a 0th level fighter. He got a name. He's leveled up now. He's obviously their senior. He's a henchman, so he has hench rules, he has hench shares. He's good. But that's the, you're like, yeah, that happens. And I think players care more the more they understand that this stuff matters. And I guess Kutalik is giving you that straight away, I think, to be like, oh yeah, actually, these are the memorable characters. Becca says it's very useful for a system like BX because hirelings are a huge part of the game, especially at lower level. I think that's true. The more the game relies on them, making it 1, easier and 2, more fun for the DM to do is going to help everyone. making it
I just
harder or less fun, you know.
No, yeah, I recall when I wrote Palace of Unquiet Repose that I also I did do a hireling table like that, and you had like you have your badasses, you have a few guys that are just sort of like run of the mill sword and sorcery guys, and then there was just like one guy who's just a 0th level drunk that you can hire for next to nothing. He has worthless morale. He's infected with lice. Yeah, it's perfect.
No, in my Dawnwood game, there are 5 PCs run by 3 players, but that's as in this was like just because I think it's a sort of this stuff is kind of 4 to 6 players, and you can kind of see it's a kind of that kind of range. So they've got extra PCs, and they can make extra PCs eventually anyway. But I also gave them, I was like, and you have hired. I started this. Remember, this was 2 of them are kids. I was like, you've hired a porter called Bob for I think like whatever it is, 1 gold a day or something. I think it is 1 gold a day when he's out on adventure, 1 gold a week the rest of the time. And so they're like, this means that your fighters do not have horrendous speed because they're not kind of weighed down by all this enormous. It's partly because you're using a less granular encumbrance system, to be fair, like less granular than AD&D. It's still reasonably granular. But yeah, you've actually seen those character sheets. I showed them to you. I put them on the forum, and you looked at them. You saw the forum, the Discord.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So but they're like, oh great, so there's this guy, and they're like, okay, can we leave him at the camp to do this? Oh, can we send the guy we've just rescued, can he go back to where Bob is? And and they were like, can Bob help gather wood? And I was like, yes, Bob will not go into the dungeon, but he will help gather wood in camping and things like that. So yeah, like they're already invested. It's easy, but it is something. It's nice. I really like these tables. Basically, I really like these. I think, as I say, Marlinko, I think, has more of the same. I will have a look. Common NPC names, Mountebank and Robo Dwarf rules. Tiger wrestling minigame, very necessary.
Always. Yes, very good.
Yeah.
Perhaps we can get into that at a later time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there are hirelings. I should say, yeah, there is another list of D8 hirelings just at the guild in Marlinko. There's a Yaroj, man-at-arms and former peasant, reeks of goat smell. Simple Sasha, man-at-arms and former village idiot with a light crossbow. Boy, gaunt, bronze-skinned, elderly link boy wearing only a loincloth.
This again, it's just a certain talent.
Yeah.
All
Who
right.
is the number 1 fan? I haven't seen it because I'm not in the right chat to see it. I'm in StreamYard chat. Who is the number 1 fan? Is it Becca?
We shall have to see. Maybe for a later date.
Yeah.
It has been an absolute pleasure, but I think we should wrap it up.
Is there anything else? I think that is the end. I think that's the last appendix. So we have finished that.
Oh yeah.
I want to know who the number 1 fan is, though. Is it Becca? Someone tell me. Someone go on you. I assume it's Becca because it's whoever posts the most. I think. I think if you send super chats, this was what Adlin found out. It may or may not help your status as number 1 fan. We're not sure.
Well, it should. My God,
it should. Yes,
we do love money.
So. Becca, Becca, I love money. Yeah, that's why I make so much money off my boring 6-year-old. It's not even 6-year-old channel. Thank you, Prince. That was good fun. Thank you for people for tuning in. We'll be back in about a month, and we'll be doing something that's not a review. We'll decide what. I don't know if we have it. Becca's complaining. He hasn't sighed. He's ugged. He's on his ugh. I was not trying. You are my number 1 fan, Becca. We'll have a relationship like the world has never heard. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Night. Say the night, Prince.
Good night, Prince.
Sweet Prince.